happening and even to show the people who are virtually connecting with us. But this is not dampening us. We have our connection in the middle there. I hope you will be seeing everything that we are doing. I hope our virtual delegates are also connecting with us. Good morning once more, colleagues. We are here today continuing with our Research and Innovation Week, actually culminating the long week today. My name is Sekhametsi Molawa, and I will be the program director. I'm not alone. I'm having my colleague here who can come and tell you who he is, so that when we drive this ship together, you shouldn't ask yourself, who is this one? Where does he come from? May you please join me to introduce yourself.
Morning, colleagues. Introducing yourself to people who know you is usually very, very weird. Anyhow, my name is Oscar Manamela. Some call me Malumi, and I'll tell you why. Where I stay, there are these two young girls. One is 6 years, one is 7. The other one calls me neighbor, Maki. The other one calls me Malume Oscar. So I found them arguing. The other one was saying, no, that's not Maki, that's Malume Oscar. The other one said, no, that's Maki. So I had to say to them, no, I'm sorry about it, technology.
I just want to check if I can hear.
So having said that, I hope we address everyone well. We address them correctly. If you're a doctor, we address you as a doctor. If you're not a doctor like me, you address me as Malumi. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Malume. We are happy. But as we say, everybody knows you. Remember, our virtual colleagues might not be knowing you, so I'm happy at least we introduced ourselves. Throughout this week, other people had an opportunity to be here when this Research and Innovation Week was launched. Our VC was here, our VP was here, our colleagues from colleges and even online were connecting from various institutions, and our colleagues from the library and from all other colleges were here. So we appreciate that people have gained the momentum of what this week is all about. So I'm happy that the emphasis, as we know, is Research and Innovation Week. The library has positioned itself to say, libraries bridging the gap between science and society. But the robust discussions that were held this week were a big question of saying, research is done. Innovation is here, but does it reach the people? Does our society gain something from it? And it made me remember a huge research that was addressing the issues on health, about what the cause of blood pressure and diabetes is in South Africa. And we realized that a lot of it was about the lifestyle. Then this beautiful research went and the recommendations come, but it never went back to the people. So people never knew that their lifestyle matters and there's something they have to do about it. So I'm so happy that today, as we are culminating, so many people, even those who will be presenting today, have been following. From hearing what our VC was saying, yes, we are doing research. Yes, research is our primary business, but does it change the lives of people? Are we impacting on the people's knowledge so that they can change whatever they have to change? So I'm happy that as we culminate, we will culminate at a high note to ensure that the society it's positively impacted and something is changing. Like we open, we will end at a very high note. So without even wasting time, I'm going to introduce the person who's going to welcome you. You heard I said I acknowledge your presence, but I never said welcome, because I knew we are having Professor Mwepe, who is going to welcome all of you in here, and even those who are connecting with us virtually. Who is this Professor Mwepe? Professor Mwepe is the Executive Director of Library and Information Services here at UNISA. And he was previously the Director of School of Arts, Acting Deputy Executive Dean, and Head of Information Science at the same institution here. He worked for several organizations, including the National Archives of South Africa and the Auditor General of South Africa, Bloemfontein, Legal Deposit Library, United Nations Children's Fund, to mention just a few. He has published widely in library, corporate governance, auditing, archives, records management, indigenous archives, authentication, oral history, literature, and archival theories. He has served widely in various boards for archives at different levels, nationally and internationally. I'm not going to go deeper into those because we will sit here the whole day, the way he has served. But I will not want to keep quiet about the other achievements and where Prof. Mwepe has been. In 2007, he was recognized by the South African Human Rights Commission and the Open Democracy Advice Center for implementation of the Promotion of Access to Information Act at the Auditor General, South Africa. And in 2015, he was recognized by the Department of Information Science at the University of South Africa as Alumnus of the Year. In March 2020, he was awarded the Chancellor's Prize for Excellence in Research, a coveted biannual prize that is given to outstanding, deserving, active UNISA researcher or research groups. This prestigious prize is aimed at recognizing and rewarding researchers producing excellent, high-quality research at UNISA. So Mwepe currently holds a C2 rating. This is from 2022 to 2027 from the National Research Foundation of South Africa. He has also supervised over 40 masters and 9 doctoral students to completion. I promise I will share more about Prof. Mwepe in our next event. Professor Mwepe, over to you. May you welcome all the people in attendance. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Program Director. I am trying to log in on my phone. It is requesting me to select the squares with the traffic lights to prove that I'm not the robot. So I'm just wondering who's the robot between me and this phone. So the world has been taken over by the machine. Program Director, Ms. Sekha Molawa, and the assistants, Ndati Manamela, Amin Malumi. Good morning, colleagues, cousins, ladies and gentlemen. In observing the protocols, I would like to acknowledge in absentia the Chancellor of the University of South Africa, His Excellency President Thabo Mbeki, and the Vice Chancellor and Principal Professor Puleni Ngabula, I will be making a mistake if I do not acknowledge my immediate boss. Otherwise, I won't get any bonus. Professor Tenjiwe Meiwa in absentia. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm told that if you feel numb, head to the library. This is because libraries are good for circulation. I'm not sure if it is circulation of books or blood. You may take your beverage into the library, but please don't pour milk on the cereal. I'm referring to the magazines and all those, not the cereals that you know. Otherwise, you will be like the author in jail who was put in the writer's block and he could not get past his first sentence. If you read the book about electricity, you will find out that it is quite shocking, more especially about load shedding. Dames and Yere have been requested, or rather instructed, by the organizers of this event to welcome you all who are attending physically and on the visual space of UNISA, as well as setting the tone for the program. I am therefore both humbled and elevated by this honor and privilege to welcome you to the Library and Information Science Research and Innovation Day. Where I come from, Bare Moyeng, itlaka rijeka wena. Unfortunately, I could not get an entry for this one in the UNISA Multilingual Proverbs Dictionary. Otherwise, if I try to translate it, it will be lost in translation. But what I know, in the library, what do you do if a dog starts eating your library book? Do you take the weight right out of their mouth? It is the day that you will know that dogs and storytellers have one thing in common. Yes, they have got one thing in common. Tail. They both have tail. You may ask, what are we doing here today? It is a long story, but to cut the short story, we all know the importance of libraries in bridging the gap between science and society. The theme of this year's Library and Information Science Research Innovation Day is relevant as it comes at the time when library and information profession faces many challenges, especially with regard to the resources that we need to bridge the gap between science and society. And the disruptive technologies is not helping. They have brought a lot of change not only to the service we offer, but also on the role and expectation of the LIS professions. Gone are the days when the librarians fled by asking for your call number or making sure novels stay warm by giving them book jackets, as now there are e-books. In the near future, I guess library will no longer be advising us to believe in our physical self. As books are becoming more and more physical, virtual. For the noble profession to bridge the gap, information scientists in this scientifically and technologically authenticated world, we have a duty to care towards our collection, ethically, I won't explain, and legally, because we are accountable for our action to our profession, ethically, our organizations, administratively and legally, society legally and morally, and the next generation, historically and morally. And our new role is to authenticate this sea of information so that people get the right information at the right time. But the gap that we are talking about today is both physical and technological. I'll explain why. We all know that the aspiration of the National Development Plan 2030 in South Africa is that each community has a local library filled with a wealth of knowledge and a librarian who is collecting, organizing, and making information accessible. And the NDP envisages the infrastructure that compensates the resources deficit in communities and further the right of access to information. and the communities that are responsive to the wide-ranging needs of their users. But we know that in reality, we don't have public libraries in South Africa, not enough. And academic libraries also and institutions are also ivory towers. I heard the program director talking about the research being done, but at the end it's not accessible by the masses. So libraries should bridge the gap of universities and research institutions as ivory towers. In South Africa, we all know that most universities are built on the top of the mountains, and the students have to ascend literally the mountains in search of knowledge to access the libraries and the university. Think of the University of Cape Town on the foot of a Table Mountain. Think of the Tshwane University of Technology. Think of the University of Limpopo. Think of the University of Venda. Think of the University of Mpumalanga. They are all built on the mountains. Of course, how can I forget the University of the Land, which is built on the top of Muckleneuk Hill. Assessing knowledge from this ivory tower is often a challenge, like I said, literally, when students have to ascend the mountain to come to the library. And figuratively, through the lack of access due to data, load shedding, heavy prices of books and journals, and so on and so forth. And sometimes researchers are even unable to access their own work. They publish in journals, but when they have to access that work, they are required to pay. As we ascend the Muckleneuk Hill to support the academic program, while we repackage and provide knowledge to academic and students, we should know that if you have never left your mother's kitchen, you'll think your mother is the best cook. But people are cooking outside. The UNISA Library and Information Services, they can cook. Libraries have a role to remove unfair practices and inequalities in publishing, as well as removal of biases such as geography, language, and peer review. I'm repeating, and even peer review. We've got a role to play in that regard. I think Dorette can attest to that. This can be done through open access. It is often difficult for novice researchers in the global periphery to publish their work in prestige journals in the global hub, with editors citing scope and audience as a hindrance. With open access, this should not be the case, as the content once published can be accessed by anyone with internet access. So that way, we can also influence peer review, and we can bridge that gap that exists between science and society. Therefore, we need to move with the changes of time, for if we look back, we are highly likely going to turn into a pillar of salt. Hence, today we have a buffet of speakers from our prodigal daughter, Dr. Ramutwa, our adopted son, Dr. Musako, our service providers from Clarivate and Elsevier, representing the aggregators and the publishers, as well as our partner from the city of Joburg, Mr. Jeff Nyoka. A special welcome to them. UNISA Library, specifically at all campuses and centers, are well-resourced and appreciated by staff and students. Also, we have entered into collaboration agreements with a number of municipalities and higher education near the regional centers so that we can share the facilities. And this is also a way of bridging the gap we are talking about. So we are committed to embracing technology to provide fast, relevant, professional, and efficient information services that bridge the gap between science and society. And ladies and gentlemen, as I introduce the conclusion before the conclusion, even though we are in the global periphery, in South Africa, we are lucky to be in the hub of that periphery. As there is a periphery in every hub, and a hub in every periphery, we are in times when people can access libraries from anywhere in the world, as long as they are connected to the Internet of Things. Like now, I'm just presenting from my cell phone. We are expected to do more and more with fewer and fewer resources. I can't explain more about that. And as I wind up, not trying to confuse the enemy, but introducing the conclusion again, even though we are in the global periphery, like I said, in South Africa, I heard the prophets of doom as cloud float weightlessly in the sky. Forecasters making profits of gloom from cloudy forecast to clear sky, giving the hint of the rain in the air. As it rain, clouds gather, birds of the sky hover in the air, showing the sign of joy, for every cloud has a silver lining, putting us in the cloud cuckoo land as we relax in cloud 9. Once in a blue moon, can you wet as it rain? I trust data in the cloud. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, where I come from, they say, moeng a duta letsogo ga a je sa molemi. And then when they say that, we respond by saying that moeng ga a bone kgwedi, because moeng o nna ka dimaripa. Gore lešao la moeng le bewa ke mong gae, le rena re tsebe gore moeng e tla ka ga e re je ka wena. Ye ke polelo ya bomma, ye bothata kudu. O ka se ikwešiše palela le baboledi ba yona. I heard Mr. Musomi couldn't even say kudu. Wa nkwešiša. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I must say you are welcome and feel free to deliberate on all UNISA spaces. If you think the other days, just as I heard from the program director, were good, wait until this session is finished. I tell you, you will be fed up at the end of this. I mean, well fed. And if you are not inspired, at the end of the event, you will expire. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. Your sense of humor is always bringing us to the event so relaxed. I hope everybody feels welcome and in this event, looking forward to hear from our presenters what they are having to feed us.
Sorry, I'm trying to answer this one. Sorry. Is it fine? Yeah, I think it's the teams here. Okay, can you try?
Hello, am I good? Yes, thank you so much. So, Prof, thank you so much for welcoming all of us in this venue and virtually. And we are again ready to listen to the papers today. And as you were talking, I was saying the questions that you are asking to say we are well positioned as librarians to make sure that it happens. Each and every phase of technology brings a scare. We are forever saying, how are we going to manage this technology? It's a monster. I remember when I was studying, and it's a long time ago, 30 years plus, and they were saying, in the next 10 years, we will be facing we will be facing paperless libraries. Here we are still having approximately 3 million books on our shelves, but we are getting there. Our online resources are growing huge and huge. But the main issue was they were asking, and then when we are going 100% online, what about the socio-economic issues in South Africa? When people have nothing to connect, and we have load shedding, so those were the questions that were asked to us. And we are sitting there as librarians and we are saying, we are making it happen. At times, we don't think so high of ourselves, but you can realize that we always lead. We always lead the path, because when we meet our international counterparts, we want to be where everybody is. So when you assess where we are, we don't have that huge gap with our international counterparts. But the issue is, let it work in South Africa and let our society be with us and understand. Without waste of time, I have Dr. Muckleneuk, who will be coming here to present her paper on academic librarians as catalysts for citizen science. Dr. Muckleneuk is currently the senior lecturer in information science, and as Prof was saying, we are proud to have her because She is from the library, so she is still so much part of us. Who is Dr. Mudiehi? She is currently on a talent management program as a senior lecturer at the Department of Information Science here at UNISA. She is a seasoned librarian with over 20 years of industry-based experience in special and university libraries, which she believes will add value to the academic space. She holds her Bachelor's of Information Science and B.In. MPhil. So what we are more interested in is that in 2023, we were producing a doctor in the name of Mudiehi Ramutlwa. May we give her a big hand of applause for the achievement. Mudiehi is an emerging researcher with 8 local and international conference presentations and 1 article published in an international journal. Her research interests are in sustainable development goals, citizen science, research data management, knowledge management, data integrity, and statistical reporting. Her PhD project, which was on citizen science, sparked her interest in how academic librarians can be a support structure to citizen scientists. Mudiehi hopes to bring a diverse view to the discourse and hopefully add to the knowledge bank of the conference attendees. Help me welcome Dr. Mudiehi Ramutlwa.
Tumela. Legai. Rete. Thank you, Marita. Colleagues, good morning. It feels good to be here. It feels good to be amongst Batubame. I am who I am today, and I'm what I am today, standing in front of you, being a doctor today because of you, all of you who are here. Some of you who are sitting here and those who are joining us virtually contributed immensely in the culmination of my research project. And for that, I would like to say thank you. This is in fact an opportunity for me to say thank you to all of you colleagues. Really, thank you so much. Let's see if my presentation will try to respond to what Professor Mwepe was saying regarding what librarians can do and the important role that we play. Okay, the topic for today is on academic librarians as catalysts for citizen science. And as you know, this is a part of the project for my PhD. So R. David Langs says, bad libraries build collections, good libraries build services, and this is subject to engagement and debate. And great libraries build communities. So I'm sure my fellow colleagues with 3 million books will argue the first point. But we are here today. We are on great libraries that are building communities. So what is the purpose of my presentation and my study? So the purpose of why I'm here today is twofold. The first one is the presentation. I'm here to report on a study, as I've already alluded, of my PhD study on how academic librarians can use their skills, knowledge, as well as resources to bridge the gap between communities and science. And the purpose of my study was, in fact, to develop a proposal which I'm going to present to you on how we, as academic librarians and libraries, can position ourselves in citizen science activities. And I've purposely chose the word position because that's exactly where we're supposed to see ourselves, and that's exactly where we're supposed to be or to go. So basically, in a nutshell, introducing and giving you a background, I'm saying that citizen science is a collaboration or an activity of gathering research data by untrained community members, often commissioned by trained researchers. I'm emphasizing the word often because community members can also have, projects on their own. They can also commission projects on their own. But for today, we're talking about projects that are commissioned in relation to trained scientists. And I like this definition from the South African Radio Astronomy Observatory, which is very recent. That simply put, citizen science is volunteers and scientists working together to answer real-world questions, and we'll see the emphasis again on real-world questions as I progress. So citizen science data contributes to monitoring and measuring progress on sustainable development goals, and this has been widely reported in literature. So where do we feature as libraries? Our role is preservation. We have always been, good with preservation. Preservation of citizen science data is important for future use and reuse. And I think that's precisely the reason why we are preserving data, not only citizen science data, but research data in general, for future use, because we don't want to reinvent the wheel. And again, academic librarians' core function is provision of access to information, and we are at the center of supporting research activities. So when I was conducting my PhD project, as I was engaging with other fellow librarians and asking them questions about whether they know what citizen science is, colleagues were saying, we're not sure. We don't really know what this thing is all about. What, is it science? Is it citizens? Is it communities? What is this thing? So I thought I should project this slide to you just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about when I refer to citizen science. The slide that I have here is about a project that is commissioned by the iNaturalist. And this iNaturalist portal was launched in 2012, and the purpose of the project was to conserve and to create sustainable environments where us as human beings and flora and fauna can coexist and find each other. So what is required from untrained communities or citizen scientists is for people to just take pictures and upload their pictures on a national database. Just to mention that citizen science is not only prevalent in the natural sciences, well, of course it's prevalent in the natural sciences. However, there are projects as well on social sciences related to citizen science. But today, I thought I should just give you this picture, because normally when we talk to people about citizen science, they already think in natural sciences. But then the issue for me is, where does all this data go to? Where does all this data that is collected through citizen science projects go to? Who is responsible for this data when librarians are here, but we most probably don't know anything about that data? Well, this data lands up in laboratories, in government institutions, in your UN. They might have our data, but as librarians, we don't have that data. So the objectives, basically, of my study was to then check and look at the capacity. Do we have the necessary capacity as academic librarians to sustain citizen science activities? And secondly, do we have technology, do we have enabling technology to deal with the copious amount of data that is produced from these projects? Do we have retention strategies that will help us with accessibility issues of these knowledge assets? do we have platforms that we can use to collaborate with other stakeholders? Because you can't talk about citizen science and you don't talk about other stakeholders. But do we have platforms where we can collaborate with others who are also interested in citizen science? And what are the possible ways of ensuring that citizen science is properly managed and these issues of access control are kept in check? And do we have frameworks to promote and support? Because it's all good that we have all this data, but do we have the abilities to promote and support citizen science activities? And of course, to develop a framework to position citizen science in university libraries in South Africa. Now let's unpack this animal in the room. What seems to be the problem? Because everybody looks like, they are going about their business, people are taking pictures and they're uploading it here and there. But what is the issue? What is at the crux of this matter? The prevalence of citizen science and how it's important in research has been reported widely, and this is from literature. And again, the data that is produced, as I've said, it's a lot of data, but it's very important because it contributes to global projects such as Sustainable Development Goals. However, this access to data is only for a privileged few. Even the very same citizen scientists who are collecting this data do not have access to this data. So we must start asking ourselves questions as librarians. Where are we when things fall apart? Academic librarians, we are knowledge hubs and we know that. And we are responsible for research support. So we are already doing this. It's nothing new for us. As Professor Mwepe always says, there's nothing new under the sun. But with this study, I want to argue that in terms of citizen science, in the social science context, Professor Mwepe, it's fairly new, particularly in academic libraries. And again, as librarians, we don't have adequate expertise or best practices here and there on citizen science in academic libraries. And academic librarians may fail to strengthen collaboration with communities if we let this buzz of citizen science leave us. And again, if we miss this opportunity to get involved in citizen science project, we run the risk of not presenting us or ourselves with an opportunity to demonstrate that we are in fact valuable and we are relevant in our societies. And lastly, if we miss this opportunity, we are missing a very big opportunity to be part of sustainable goals development. We're missing an opportunity to contribute to this national endeavor and this national project. So basically, this is the problem of my research. So how I drove, or what I did to drive this research was, from a person who has a social science or a humanities background, it was not easy because citizen science, as I've said, is prevalent in the natural sciences. So I went and looked at a framework or a model from the knowledge management perspective, and I also looked at a framework from the citizen science perspective and tried to match the two. So on the KM framework, what did I do? I looked at the retention and reusing of knowledge assets, and I also looked at how we can collaborate through communities of practice, and I also looked at connecting through technology. And from the citizen science framework, I looked at establishing capacity, establishing skills and knowledge, and also on how data can be managed. So this is the research methodology that I used. The paradigm that I used was pragmatism. I used the mixed method approach, just to give you a picture of what I did. And the research design was exploratory sequential design, wherein both quantity and quality data was collected. And I used surveys and case studies to collect my data. And further, I used questionnaires and interviews. My target population was 185 academic librarians. And you're probably wondering, from 26, 28 universities that we have, why only 185? 185 was deliberate because my focus was on academic librarians who are particularly members of LIASA, not academic librarians in general. And my focus, the sample, was on the colleagues who are members of YELIC, Higher Education Library Interest Group. And for interviews, I interviewed research experts from the NEDI group, and then I used descriptive statistics, SPSS, to analyze my descriptive statistics, and also thematic analysis. Just, in a nutshell, this is what I did regarding research methodology. So what are the major findings from this study? And I'm sure you already have an idea of what I was talking about. The major finding with regards to the retention and reusing of data was that as academic librarians, we lack data management policies and guidelines on citizen science. Yes, of course, we do have research data management, but there was a bit of a confusion when I asked questions, regarding research data management and citizen science. And again, another finding is that we don't have centralized data repositories. We do have data repositories, or we do have repositories, but they are not necessarily centralized. We have a bit here and a bit there. And with regards to collaboration, what came out strong was that citizen science is not a one-man show. It's a multi-stakeholder activity that requires academic librarians, it requires citizen scientists, it requires government institutions in some instances, and it requires researchers, of course. However, there were different views on who should lead the project, who should be responsible for the project, who should be the leader. When we talk about collaboration and particularly multi-stakeholder, who should then take the lead? Should it be academic librarians? Should it be researchers? Or should it be citizen scientists themselves? And regarding the management of data, colleagues said that data repositories are, of course, important. As much as we don't have centralized data repositories, they are important, and because they encourage that data will be centralized. If we have a data repositories, we don't save and store our data in any database that we find. And regarding technology, what was found in this study was that there is limited knowledge on what is required when it comes to citizen science data or how to handle citizen science data. And colleagues were saying, look, we know smart technology. Professor Mwepe was presenting from his phone. It shows that he's well conversant with smart technology. And colleagues were saying, we do know smart technology. However, we are not sure if what we know will be sufficient for citizen science. And of course, lack of skill to deal with citizen science data. And I tried to explain to colleagues to say, look, this is not a different type of data. It is part of research data. But then the emphasis was on, we are not sure if we are skilled enough. But besides, we don't have time. Our plate is full. And I'll mention his name again. Professor Mwepe always says, get a bigger plate. If your plate is full, get another one. So that's basically what the colleagues were saying, that look, we're doing so much already as academic librarians. And what you guys do, each time there's something new, you shove it to us. You always give it to librarians. We are not interested in that thing that you're talking about because we have enough already. And what I found was that citizen science is a very unfamiliar territory when it comes to academic librarians, at least in South Africa. Because other academic libraries in other countries do know what citizen science is all about. So colleagues, I'm saying we should not miss this bus. We should not be the only people that do not know what's going on in the world. And again, the issue of confusion between citizen science and research data management. So where do we feature as academic libraries or academic librarians? Well, our business, we are in the business of providing access to information, and we have solid relationships with the researchers. And of course, our library users are from the community, so we do have a relationship with community members. So we do feature one way or another. So this is the framework that I proposed in my study to say, yes, we did find that citizen science is an unfamiliar territory and all the things that we spoke about. But what can we do? What is it that we need to do as academic libraries to make sure that we are also in the thick of things? When people talk about citizen science, then we can say, look, we were there. And on this proposal, excuse me, on this proposal, I'm proposing that we need to revamp our skills and training. We need to look at our technology infrastructure. We also need to review and revamp our policies and guidelines. We also need to look at issues of collaboration and leverage on those collaborations, because we might not have all the resources that are required to push this animal called citizen science. And of course, management and access control. Once we start collecting this data, or once we start getting this data into the libraries, we need to make sure that this data is not accessed at willy-nilly. Tom, Dick, and Harry, who wants data, does not have readily available access. As much as we're saying data should be open, but there are some controls and measures that we need to put in place. And if we don't market and advocate for this animal, no one will know about it. So we also need to put marketing and advocacy strategies in place to make sure that whoever that we're speaking to hears the gospel. And this is from my study. So how, in fact, are we going to do this? What is required from us? When we talk about skills development and training, we're saying academic librarians, we need to capacitate ourselves so that we support these initiatives. And also, we support citizen scientists, because they will be coming to us and ask for information. So if we don't know ourselves, it will be very difficult to provide. It's difficult to provide what you don't know. And the stakeholders, as I've said, it's a multi-stakeholder initiative. The stakeholders that I'm talking about is LIASA. We need our associations such as LIASA to help us push. Okay, I'm told the time is almost up. Let me move. To help us push, so it's LIASA, institutions like our associations like NEDIC, the library and information science schools to help us with skills development and training, and CPD activities, of course. Memolao, I'm now going to rush because I'm halfway through. Okay, in terms of technology infrastructure, we need hardware and software to house the copious amount of data that I was talking about. The technology is in place. If in academic libraries, especially a library like UNIS, technology is already in place. However, is it sufficient to carry the load? And of course, we need policies and guidelines. I will move here. I spoke about collaboration, but collaboration should be internally as well as externally. We need to leverage on these collaborations that we have. We have academic departments, we have Department of Information Science that can collaborate with us. We have researchers, community members, various citizen science organizations, internationally and locally. And I spoke about issues of management and access control, where we need a central platform to properly store and manage this data. Remember, we're doing all this because we want this data to be accessible to other people as well. Because what's the point of having all this, but you keep it to yourself? Marketing and advocacy. I spoke about this, that we need to create awareness on the importance of citizen science. So for future research, and this is my second last slide. For future research, feasibility testing of the framework that I've developed is required. And I would like to challenge academic staff members to test the framework to see if it's feasible, if it's something that we can run with. And curriculum development, somebody would say, but what's so special about this thing? Why should we develop or we change a curriculum all for this? We're saying we need to introduce citizen science at grassroots level. We need to introduce students as they enter the university on the importance of citizen science. Or better yet, we can engage students in primary schools or in high schools on citizen science because of its importance in the national space. And the policy and guidelines, we need to, for future research, whoever that will take my study and run with it, we need to conduct a benchmarking exercise to establish citizen science support in various libraries. And we need to develop country-specific policies and guidelines, because what we tend to do is we tend to take what Netherlands said is gospel truth, and we want to adopt it or adapt it. As I've already stated, when I was doing my study, I had to take from two different disciplines. So what we require is multi and transdisciplinary research, where citizen science can be enhanced and the field of LIS can be expanded. The timing of the study is very important. I collected data during COVID, and my sample was very small. So, there should be a reasonable period when the study is collected. And lastly, population and context. I targeted academic librarians who are LIASA members and who are members of HELIC. However, I wish that this study can be rolled out and be conducted with various libraries, and in fact also be expanded outside the borders of South Africa. That's it, ma'am. I'm done. Okay. All right, thank you.
Colleagues, that was Dr. Muka, and I'm proud to say she's from my section in the library. Okay, thank you, Dr. Muka, for raising awareness of the citizen science, acknowledging the skill gap in the field, and identifying the role of libraries. Comments and questions will follow, where Dr. Muka will take questions. Not now, we'll give you time for that. And also, I'm reminded that we should ask those who are following us online to follow our hashtag UNISA RN. Oh, my eyes, sorry. I wanted to look handsome because without my glasses I look handsome, so I thought, So I can see now it's working against me. R&I. So the library, hashtag library, UNISA library and information services, so that they can share their experience online. When you go to the supermarket, you want to buy something, you always have this kind of setting where they have a microphone, where they announce specials. Today we're having 1, 2, 3, and so forth. By the way, they announce it in such a way that you don't buy, you don't outstock them. And I'll tell you why I'm saying that. They will say, shoppers, please be aware today we are in a special on Omo washing powder, and today's price will be and then a lot of people go and buy, and tomorrow the prices are up. The strategy is that the following day there should be more people buying because they didn't hear properly. Anyhow, the next speaker, Dr. Rankadi Mosako, you know, I would have loved for him to come and introduce himself, because someone will ask, who's Dr. Mosako? Someone asked me actually the other day, and I said, sorry, Dr. Mosako, I said, that's the quiet guy sitting on the other side of, yeah. Because he's always minding his business, doing his work. So we never get to a chance to interact with him because we don't want to disturb him. I remember the other day I walked in there, and, you know, we can be very loud. And I see someone is taking her glasses off, guilty as charged. And I said, shh, the doctor is sitting on the other side. And the other one said, hey, don't bring us stress here. Anyhow, I hope I'll be able to see and really represent you well. Dr. Mosako is a heritage and an academic practitioner dedicated to bridging the gap between galleries, libraries, archives, and museums. I should have said GLAMNE. You would have been easy. GLMA. And the public library. His research focuses on deconstructing colonial power structure and filling historical gaps, contributing to decoloniality and curriculum transformation through an African epistemological lens. You know, me coming from the church, I almost, you know, mentioned that name, African what church? Ah, come on, can't be looking at me like that. You can't be this serious. Work with me here. And it further says, am I reading the right one? Yes. You see, I just wanted to see if you're paying attention. Thank you. You can't be this serious. Work with me here. With extensive academic qualification, including Bachelor of Arts in Fine Arts in Education, Bachelor of Arts and Honors specializing in Art History, Bachelor of Information Honors. I just wanted to see if you're paying attention. Thank you. In Heritage and Museum Studies, Masters of Historical, with extensive academic qualification, including Bachelor of Arts and Fine Arts in Education, Bachelor of Arts and Honors specializing in Art History, Bachelor of Information Honors, Postgrad Diploma in Heritage and Museum Studies, Masters of Historical and Cultural Science in Heritage and Museum Studies, Master of Arts in Fine Arts, PhD in Art, and doctoral degree in Social and Human Studies, with a major in Museum Studies. He is currently serving as a reviewer for the South African Society of Archivists, SASA, I should have said SASA, and leave out the other one, and the East and Southern Regional Branch of International Council of Archives Journals, and as well as the Conference of Eastern, Central, and Southern Africa Library and Information Association. I think I did well, ne? Without my glasses. Thank you very much. So I don't want to waste your time. Dr. Mosako, the podium is yours.
Good. Greetings to everyone gathered in here. First of all, I just need to say all protocol observed. Because if I don't do that, I will be just like Professor Ngwepe, not sure of my raise or my IPMS acknowledgements. Ma'am, you acknowledged. Okay, good. Is the slides visible on the screen? Thank you kindly. Good, good. All right, as Uncle Malume has already introduced me, I am, and Professor Ngwepa, of course, said the son in the unit. I actually not a connoisseur in the field, but I am a learner because lifelong learning continues. Hence, when someone applies for a PhD with an honors degree, we do grant them acceptance for two reasons. When someone has got prior learning experience, which cannot be bought by money, it cannot be put aside. So we consider prior learning, we evaluate and assess it, and we qualify it and grade it so someone can go directly into PhD. PhD is nothing less or nothing more than research. So when does a field research, one can apply the knowledge that accumulated over the years and just project it in such a way that it can be accessed by the general society. Hence, when we grant people honorary doctorate, we consider what they have done in the society, the money they have traveled. That very knowledge is something that you cannot learn in a classroom, but you acquire over the years. Experience is a good curriculum component in our institution, and it should be like that going forward. Now, the theme of the event says bridging the gap between science and society. Now, fostering research and innovation for a societal impact. So when one travels around the world, especially when one attends conferences and gets exposed to the world, one gets to realize that, you know what, there's no better place than home. However, a non-traveled should I say, surgeon, person who's a temporary surgeon in the space, is less experienced because each time you travel, you acquire knowledge, you absorb knowledge, you are like a sponge, you keep on expanding, and upon coming back, you reflect of what you have learned. So what I'm going to share here is something that I've observed over the time as I've been traveling, and the spaces that I travel at is mainly galleries, museums, and libraries. Okay, now in research, we keep on saying you need to contextualize your study. So this is not a study, it's still a developmental study, but I need to share it here. It is a link to what I've been studying over time on observational purpose, because you need to understand which method of data collection are you using. At the moment, I'm using observation. When I go to conferences, I pose the right questions, which are part of the data collection. The responses that come from the conferences, I put them aside because I'm going to use them as the data, so I'm going to analyze it. And when you analyze the document or a presentation, you look at, you transcribe it. Today we are using tools. You give it to a tool, then it transcribes it and writes it aside. Then you do thematic analysis, and when you analyze that very document, you highlight all the positive aspects about information technology, libraries in F5IR, 4IR, and then you analyze again those very ways that are very negative about it, which are the disadvantages. And upon then you count how many of the positive are highlighted, and you count how many of the negative are highlighted. So in a way you come up with a different number. The other number, which is higher, will determine whether that very thing is a negative. And if I told the highest positive, because that will determine if I told that very content is a positive one. That's how we do thematic analysis. So this very travel helped me realize that I need to frame the study, within the UNISA 5 pillars. And it's the first one, which is looking at advancing technology-mediated qualification for rather quality learning and teaching learning, which is tuition for students, for researchers, for any other person who wants to study. And how do we do that? We must understand that library, should I say less, library information services, which is the libraries itself, the museums are also information services. Kgorong, as it is, when you go and move in, you see the walls are adorned by information. There's an information center. So that is also information services. So those very things, they need to be done strategically in such a way that we do the culture, we promote the culture of lifelong learning each time we move within the institution than someone going directly to the library without seeing any other thing that enriches the information regarding the culture. So this is pillar number one, and then we need to get the right technology. So we are living in a space whereby when you go into a shopping mall, and then you get to have your smartphone, it buzzes as if a message is coming. When you open it, they tell you about the special they have in that very mall or that very store, in that very complex. So when someone goes through our main gates, the three of them, the buzzer must just go. Anyway, what is happening in Research Week, they must just see that. Or Library Week, they must see that. Archival Week, they must see that. So there must be someone sitting on a computer doing these very marketing things. And it's a marketing unit that each time someone moves to the Department of Information Science, Department of History, not coming to the library, but the library must be a hint because the library is the nerve of an institution. No one gets to get a degree without seeing a book or going through a book or going through research. So we just need to have that marketing tool. That's how it goes. There's aspiration of new technology. Now, I also thought it should be framed within a particular niche. We do have 10 of them, but the one that speaks to this very studies, that one that speaks about 4IR and digitization, maybe digitalization going forward. Now, having framed the study, now I come back, I go like, globally, what is the drive? The drive are sustainable development goals. There are 17 of them. They were designed by the United Nations around circa 2015, maybe September the 9th, I'm not so sure, but this is how it goes. And then I realized that the most appropriate goal for framing this study is goal number 9, which talks about infrastructure, innovation, and the industry. And why is it so broad? Now we trim it down. What is it? Its intention is to build a resilient infrastructure like the IT, like the technology. We struggled earlier on to get the technology right. Even if you can see a person, but the technology was supposed to be there in order to emphasize, document, record what is happening so that it can be live streamed later on. So we don't need an audience to be on site. We can also have external audience about having the same thing. So infrastructure must be good to promote sustainable industrialization and therefore fostering innovation. So as I say, when I travel to conferences, the two things that I do is data collection. Because when I come back, I sit quietly, so in the corner, regurgitate what has been said, and I try to apply it in the next study. So remember, you cannot apply a study without doing research, but going to conferences, people have done research already, you tap into their knowledge and you analyze and bring it down. Now, Sustainable Development Goal number 9 has got a target. There are several targets on this one, but the one that I thought is more relevant to frame the study is the one that looks at how can research be enhanced by technology. Therefore, we need to upgrade the industrial technology in such a way we are on point. Now, here's a situation. We do all know that the first cell phone never had images. The ringtone never had polytone. It was monochrome sound. So that phone is sitting in a museum at the moment, but we need to have a point of reference. So when technology develops an upgrade, we should not be cross. We go like, we bought devices, they are sitting in a library, they are not working. That's how technology works. It's got a lifespan. You use it for a particular time and it goes on. So what's the plan going forward? For management, of course, we need to hire these tools than purchase these tools so that when they become obsolete, we are not losing. They go back to the service provider brings something new which is current, and we keep on staying on the loop technologically. Now, what is the background that I'm bringing? You know, revolution is such a strong move, and I don't know what revolution is. But in my own understanding, when we were students, we used to think of let them eat cakes, Queen Antoinette from the French, and that sparked a revolution. So a revolution is a strong drive, and revolution cannot be peaceful. Asugama pepper, when revolution happens, you know, that's how it goes, yes. Now, absolutely. So when we started, our forefathers were Arabic, they depended on agriculture to live. They will use ox to plow, and they'll be going in the harvest to remove the weeds, let's say, taking place. Now people realize that no, this is good, but there's a whole lot of hunger approaching. Technology had to come in. So they started producing machineries to produce food faster. So that's how revolution happens. So I'm gonna take us through all the revolutions from Revolution 1 to the one and maybe the upcoming one, which is envisaged 5th industrial revolution. So the first revolution is whereby from the normal manual usage to machinery, something that was being in a mechanical, say we mechanicalize things so that things should work faster. And this occurred around the 18th century, mainly in Europe and in America. However, because now these days you know what decolonization is. Decolonization is not the rewriting of history, but looking to the history gaps and filling those gaps with the right information. Because around that very century, something else was happening in Africa regarding industrialization. So it's going to come in. So we have the machines coming up with steam engines to get the goods coming faster into inland, then from coastal inland, from import and exportation taking place. So that very introduction of machinery is the one that sparked Industrial Revolution #1. However, in Africa, we do know of Timbuktu, the Mali archives. So the writing of information was, of course, a type of a library setup. People will move into the library to hear and listen as people speak, to read about what has been said about the history of the country, the history of the society. You know, the idioms that the Africans have got have been written, so the future generation can still bank on them as much as the good word has been written, there's been referenced on such. So beyond this, these are not my images. They've been acknowledged at the bottom. That's what we do as researchers. And this is how libraries were. Libraries now started becoming important. Knowledge had to be shared on how machinery can be used in order to fast forward things. So reading has always been important for knowledge gain. So we cannot differentiate ourselves from the society which says, no, we don't need a library. They are not aware. If at all you don't put the material online, they'll still come up loud and cry and say, where is the references? So the library is a very important nerve line. Now, the second revolution is the revolution whereby everyone was getting electrified. So you no more using steam, you're losing electricity. To make things move faster, speed was important in this case. And it's also towards the end of the 1800s, whereby we do know of the World War I and World War II. When the war was beginning, machineries, aircrafts were happening faster. So thinking of technology development was a very imperative around that time. So the production of steel, metal to use for vehicles, for transportation, as much as we were using steel to get electricity going. So steel became a very #1 product, not a secondary, but now labor was needed to get the steel mine because the steel comes from iron ore. It needs to be mined. So populations of mining happened, that type of revolution, moving from what you call village, rural, to urban space and peri-rural. It became a very important. Now the library around that time, it was no more storing of books and a new moving line to line looking for books. Cataloging started happening, whereby we had to have the stack of catalogs that we had to look through, which was handwritten. And from the handwriting catalogs, then we had to look into the most that were typed. Then this is how it goes. The revolution of getting books quicker than moving shelf to shelf from one component, it started happening. And the third industrial revolution also took place. It's whereby globalization was happening. And when globalization was happening, we were able to connect to the other worlds and see how the other worlds conduct their lives regarding library and information services. Now, when that happened, the Web 1.0 was happening. The Web 1.0 is whereby the internet was that become popular, and the web page will come up as a marketing tool, as a flyer. It was not interactive. So you read about the UNISA library services, someone else will, what do they do? But that one is very static. It's not interactive. So it was important because it was a marketing tool. Computers and digitization started happening, primarily so with a very, very big server elsewhere. And then remember, only few had to have this computer. It was desktop spaced. You had to move to it, get information, and therefore apply the information absorbed. However, what happened is that traveling around the world, going to Birmingham, the library there started showing me, flames, should I say. You go there, you want a book, you want to see the book, you go like, no, get to the device. It's so remote controlled. So you communicate with a device to give you the information that you want so that you can go and search for the book. So the orientation of the library is also on that very device. So being a Birmingham library does that, no, there's a lot that needs to be done, and there's a lot that can be done regarding revitalization and revitalization of library services. Now the fourth industrial revolution starts creeping in, and we are whereby digitization and digitalization are the buzzwords. Everyone has got a phone now. It's no more that very monochrome. They play polychrome. You can even record your own emoji. You send your own emojis. So AI becomes a very important tool. Artificial intelligence becomes an important tool. The smartphone on its own is an artificial intelligence. Anyone using that very monochrome phone will not be able to do what is applied now. So it's lag behind. Speed is important. You get information immediately. Now the problem became the digital divide. Data became very expensive, and then the countries could not afford. Then the city of Tshwane and Joburg as well tried to say, we'll offer you free Wi-Fi, but they didn't realize that the bands would be exhausted. So we started having the devices freezing whilst waiting for information. So you'll apply and give information, and you wait for it to regurgitate information. The freezing was, and it was retarding the intention of the fourth industrial revolution. So robots started coming to play. And then when robots starts coming to play, you go like, okay, you used to be, of course, we are human. When a call comes in, you go like, is a sales. And you're human, and you go like, by the way, these people are employed. If I don't get this phone, they don't get the stats. You answer the phone, and they start by greeting, they spell your surname wrong, you get agitated, and all those. But now they started using robots. Robots read the word as it is. It might pronounce it differently, but it spells it very much right. So AI became important, the buzzword. So you get a machinery talking to a machinery. You've got a choice to listen, you've got a choice to drop. And when you drop, the machine doesn't get sad. It has no emotions than when you drop and it's a person. So that's how it goes. And then I just need to say, during this very revolution, we've got a very important competitor, of course, my alumni, Libby, in the library services at Marinsky Library, UP. Now, Libby is limited at the moment, but it's a fascinating device to be in a library. So what it does is that you ask it questions, it's been fed to information, it will give the information accordingly. And its brain doesn't get tired. Its brain is so vast because the brain is a cloud. Yeah, the server is bigger. So you can ask some material questions because so much has been fed into it. And they give you that. Even if you know where the certain books of art, for that matter, which is a 700 classification, education 370, that's how you go. So yeah, so Libby will take you and guide you on how to get there. Floor number 4 in a library, and ours, of course, you know the levels. Now ours is gonna be having a revamp sooner, but now at the moment, here is Lwazi. Lwazi is sitting here at Winnie Madikizela Mandela Digital Services. However, Lwazi services just like that very phone that you drop, and then Lwazi doesn't get cross, and Lwazi doesn't get tired. Lwazi can be called at 12 midnight. With information, you'll get information. I mean, robotics are important. But we are moving faster into the 5IR, which is creeping in. Now, 5IR is called the second decade. Remember, we've got the 21st century, the second decade of the century itself, whereby innovation is important. Everyone wants to bring something new to the world. You need to use a device that you have, a smartphone. Someone can design an app. Someone can design an app for anything. When UP was granted the leeway to design Turnitin, it was like the device or the tool to check plagiarism. It doesn't work anymore because we've got AI writing articles, AI writing assignments. But the researchers and institutes go like, we struggle so much, and here people are writing easier. So they designed the app. So we move in the 5IR whereby a machine talks to a machine, a device takes to a machine. Turnitin is a technical tool. We've got a technical tool to assess if at all Turnitin is limited. Was the article written by an AI? Already a machine detects what the machine has done. And it do happen whereby our institution has put several journals out of the log because they were so infested with AI-generated articles. So we are moving in a world whereby human capacity is limited, but technology is moving faster. So I was presenting earlier on, should I say, and I was talking about intuition. You see, when you are intuitive enough, for a distance of about 4 meters, I emit rays of energy. And I can absorb rays of energy. Then you move into a room, there are other rays of energy that are interjecting into your radius. Then you can feel there's a bad energy or there's a good energy. You move according to what you feel. That human factor is there. Everyone has got it. We just need to practice it. So currently, sorry. But as I go, now a robot talks to another technological tool. So what it does, it searches what the technological tool has got. Now, we used to be told that the world is moving so fast that we're going to have cars that drive themselves. Now, traveling to Miami last year, I realized that from the airport to the accommodation space, a car was just monitored by a passenger driver. I'll say passenger because he was just not controlling it. And then they press destination, the car assesses, charges you, it navigates to the spot, and it stops, and then you press the button, the door opens on its own. So technology has moved so fast is that we are truly in the third world at the moment, whereby we are following. And as we are following, we just need to advance our library service in such a way that we make innovation to happen faster. Hence, the institution has got innovation awards. Bring it on, we acknowledge. But research now, connect with the world. Malaysia cannot be leading so much, and we are stating here when we can connect with Malaysia and get the knowledge as they have it. Now, this technology of 5IR is the right revolution that we are going in. Actually, we are in. Yes. We were creeping, now we are in. Now, this is the introduction. I've got 90 slides that I'm going to go through. For real, yes. Now, I just need to make a synoptic summary of what this very industrial revolution that the university is still having. So we have to change our niche areas and then bring 5R as well, and plus. We may say 4 industrial revolution plus, meaning and others that are going to be fast advancing. So this technology is integrated with cyberspaces, cyber physical spaces, which are coming with many acronyms, which is called physical systems relating with cyber. And these very systems are there to advance our lives. You know, you don't need to say what's in the fridge because you don't know if at all the milk that you bought, you might have forgotten because we sit in computers so much. Now your cyber-oriented refrigerator, refrigerator, thank you, ma'am. You have a diary in it. It will tell you if the meal is about to be off. If it's finished, then you feed it in. So you've got that, and then what it does is a machine. It will talk to 60 or 60 seconds. You just check us, make an order for you, then you get a delivery, you get an acknowledgement. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. That's how machine has. Even the books, you need to get a reminder 3 days before the book expires, so they don't get to have a fine. And then therefore you can renew it remotely online, if at all, so no one has booked it. That's how we should be applying this very technology within which we live. Now, many industries are challenged. They are so much lagging behind. We all know, of course, I think there's no junior here. When Y2K bug was happening, they go like, by the year 2000, the world is ending. Spend all your money. Or maybe apply your money to advancing your technology, your computer systems. So the people who made money, you do know the philanthropists who donated money. He made money by coming up with a Y2K advancement. So beyond that, we still continue now. We are looking to the next millennium. So we have this revolution happening. Let's embrace it. 4IR is okay. It just came in, but it's already have limitations. 5FR is the way to go. May our list department consider that. All right. Now the 21st library situations are shifting the narratives. The stereotypes are there. The paradigm shift is happening. Information needs to be like fast stream. If at all one was to describe as an artist or maybe portray it, one would go like lightning speed of device. We used to be told that the cables are being laid under the sea, then we're going to have 5 faster broadband. But it is still lagging because is it 1 month ago whereby the sunstorm, the solar storm happened and they were distracted? The whole African continent was affected by that. A quiet person taking so much, eh? Yeah, but this is a very interesting subject matter, honestly. Yeah, but we need to have them. Now we are connected to machines. You talk to a machine, it tells what to do. Now let's go to the web machine, talk to machines. But now this doesn't replace human beings because human beings feed a machine with information. Another person feed a machine with information. So they have a dialogue. Like when someone makes an inaugural lecture, there must be a defense. Then they question it. And the next slide after the introduction, I'll skip faster for this 90-something slides that I've got. Artificial intelligence has got limitations. It is only giving us an interplay of competitiveness. You speak to Libby, you speak to Lwazi, these are robots. But you need to get to a stage where Libby can talk to Lwazi remotely, and therefore we've got what we need to do, of course, like the South African universities is doing. Libraries don't need to be isolated towers of glory. Libraries need to be collaborative towers of glory. UP relating with UJ, UJ relating with UNISA library. So by someone coming from overseas goes into UJ, looks for something, like, I don't have it. Like the Muslims do, try my brother next door. But in the same space, but not in the same space, same device, where like, I know where this thing is. This book is sitting somewhere at UCT. Already the system knows, then connects to that, but being at UNISA already. I'll skip. The 5R actually now is leveraging on something called cobotics. Cobotics is nothing else but collaboration of robots. So it's called cobotics. It's a word that's been coined that I'm still researching more about, but I think that's what it means. You don't need to stress your brain, but you need to get the right feed, because maybe the other person must have short-fed the robot, and this one will get the information. This one must also read short-fed information, as much as there's a device that reads what anything is limited to, and goes like, no, is this good article is excellent, but let's not take it. It's so much generated by 4IR, by artificial intelligence. It has got no human application in it. Yeah. All right, now what 5FR does, it harmonizes the devices to one another. It also harmonizes human interactions, and means, once more, going to intuition. There is a system that one needs to learn much in order to refine it. You go into someone's brain, and you know what they think about seconds before they say it. And then that's what person says, I knew you were going to say that. They train themselves that whatever you think, but just by looking to a person, your brain talks to your brain, I'm going to do, you're going to say this. That's why when you go into a space and then you're sitting, you're studying, and someone is standing 2 meters away at the back, you can still feel their energy, and what they think, then you turn, because they were trying to come or not come, but your brain, one can refine it. And once you get the right accord, you're on. Now, here we are. LIs in the digital space in the 5IR. I'll rush this one. It has got to do with employees. It has got to do with customers, our clientele. It has got to do with the organizations. Now we've got MOUs existing between us and TM, whereby TML is coming in, now it's TMC probably. Now each time we have these MOUs with organizations, we tap into what they have, they tap into what they have, we make it stronger. Now tomorrow there's a big talk about Africa Day, and reference has been done from library remotely. Our archives are being accessed remotely. That's very important. Whereby we used to go to archives, enjoy the old acid paper and so on. You can do the old acid paper on paper. So I advise the digitization of archives not to clean the acid color, yellow. Leave it as it is. It gives archive fat feel than when you clean and make it whitish. It's not right. It has got to do with the environment, the society. I was talking about the collaboration between UP, UJ, and so on. All these academic institutions, they've got one purpose, to incapacit people with knowledge. Let's bond and share. Because the bond between organization and employees can yield a skill. So librarians, I should say professionals, should always be skilled monthly on the devices that they use, on the new technology that could come, even if you don't get it. But you should have knowledge. The best people in the academic institution to have the most knowledge about IT and the knowledge of the content of the library are the librarians, people working in the library. Not someone as a researcher come to research about the books. We read those books during our spare time. We get capacitation ourselves. So when someone asks, you go like, you're in that book, tell them what's in the book already. But not through intuition, reading it. Again, the communication between organization and customers makes in such a way that we get the customers who are cooperative. As much as they are cooperative, then they will be able to give us the ability to go like, you respect the book that you use, you respect the device that you use. We are aspiring for libraries whereby now, Mems Khametzi told me that they still long, or we still long for those SQL queues of voting like structure, whereby people wait to come to the library because the library is so full. But now it is okay. The aspiration is good for history. Let's go digital. Nobody should be coming to the library to sit and search for books. Let our e-books be so excellent. Let's expand the license band. Done, limited to 2 people at a go. We need to get that right, because we are not getting queues coming right, but we've got stats of who uses our resources. Then the relationship between society and environment goes like, we are moving in a world which is inclined towards digital technology. There's a widespread of, Prof said it, information or Internet of Things. 3 minutes, I can do much in 3 minutes. Internet of Things, let that work for us as an institution. Thank you very much. I'm not concluding. Conclusion of conclusion. During this very conventional space, we know that people who go to the library, the 4 brick-walled mortar spaces, we are no more there. But during then, we realized the digitization, we were getting a cataloging through the line and go to the library to look for a book. We are no more there. Then we get a collaboration between libraries networks. We are moving towards. I know that I can go to UJ, search for a book, like, I don't have it, but my sister library company, or my sister librarian, or my sister library institution has got this book, you can go and get it. I don't need to go. They may even system research if at all it's booked or not booked, because I travel here, the book is not on the shelf, it's been used. Yeah, so systems need to talk to one another in that very sense. And then therefore we're building digital libraries of the future, and therefore facilitating our service much more stronger, much more excellent. When someone goes into our main campus, the first buzz is new acquisition of books. They may not need it, but because we are bringing it to them, we bring the library to them, they might have an interest to come and read it or access it, and therefore our stats will go high. Now, future-rising academic libraries should go in this very line. Technological adaptation. Each and every month we get a facilitation on how the device or future device will work better to advance the library applications, revolutionizing the subject that we deal with. Now, in conclusion, for the 3 minutes that have been given to me, we live in a field whereby libraries are important. I said they are the nerve. I mean, nobody gets a PhD for that matter without having references, without having a list of references, without having interacted with knowledge written. Corroborating it or refuting it is important. I think we should, this is the next drive. Probably when I'm interviewed, I'll use this as a power tool. I'll keep it for myself. Because I've got interest that we need to read these very articles, at these very journals that you are busy scanning, and critique them. I disagree with them. By so doing, we are bringing ourselves in, at the same time we are still promoting it. We need to promote the content that is developed. 3 years down the line, it's left with 2 years lifespan to be out of the shelves. So let's critique it. We bring it back to the shelf. We also bring ourselves as librarians into the space of critical reading, critical discourse. Thank you very much.
Okay, now we all agree he's not a quiet guy sitting at the corner somewhere, right? You know, Dr. Musako, what you said here was very, very mouthful and interesting. You know, Dr. Ramutla, you know, in our section, and I'm glad that my manager is sitting there, we will have these discussions about where the library should be in the next 2 months. What should happen in the library and so forth. Yes, we have such discussions, and I think sometimes my manager would be fed up with us to say, guys, what did I do to inherit such a team? Anyhow, and I also, Dr. Musako, you know, I want to say to you that I've learned that the more you learn, the more you realize you know nothing. Yes. On a serious note, you learn so much about things, then you realize that, oh my God, there's so much information out there that I didn't know. You spoke about industrial revolution and the digital, you know, sphere of things. I know that, you know, many might not know, but there's a talk of transhumanism, and I'm sure you know about it, where when one loses an arm, they create a machine one for you. Where one passes on, they create a replica of yourself. And of course, that's not something that we need to discuss right now. But that's just to give you something to think about. A reminder to our online attendees, please follow the hashtags. If you have questions, leave them there, and our marketing team will note them down, and then a relevant speaker will respond to that. Anyway, thank you, Dr. Musako, for taking us through this interesting and thought-provoking innovation that happens in the library, information sector, and including archives. You know, you walk into the library and you look at what we have in the library, right? And I know that Dr. Ramutla will agree. We always say that we have so many books that are not supposed to be on shelves. And he actually said that now, you know, in a city like this, to say that is correct. Digitize those books, make the space, you know, optimize the space for other things. That's what we always discuss in our section. And of course, also bring forth the challenges that the radical changes that technology brings with. And I've just mentioned the transhumanism that I know many of you don't want to talk about, where when passes on, they create another Malume. And I don't think my mother would want another Malume. And of course, about the intuition, I think I'll come and talk to you about that one, because it's quite an interesting one, where we actually want to understand how people think. Anyhow, the next speaker, it gives me great pleasure. You know, when the library undertook their statements to say that we will provide you with the relevant information wherever you are, whenever, they did it, you know, knowing too well that they have partners who will partner with them to make sure that this becomes a reality, right? I mean, imagine if you're a researcher, you get access to this databases that gives you the information superhighway. I am talking about the autobahn of information. You know, autobahn, those who know, is a highway in Germany where you can actually drive 360 kilometers per hour. Nobody will give you a ticket. And such partners, that partner with UNISA Library to provide researchers, academics, and our students with this kind of information, we say thanks to them. And I want to welcome the next one, that is Menno Zanle Nomfet. You know, when they were introducing us to say, this is Oscar Manamela, he said, I know Oscar. So like I said, everybody knows me. So Zanle Nomfet is from Clarivate. I heard someone say Clarivat. So, you know, you can pronounce it however you want, as long as you are talking about the company that she's representing, right? She is okay. Doctor, no, not doctor. Zanele. Now everybody's a doctor, but today anyway, I grant you doctorates. Not from that other, you know, remember there were actors who were given doctorates? What institution was it again? Sorry? Trinity, yeah, as a representative of Trinito, not Trinity. Trinito, I'm giving everyone doctorates now. Anyhow, Zanele, she brings with an experience, 15 years experience in the library and research information services. She has established an exceptional reputation as a research product specialist and an adept facilitator in various library systems, database platforms, and research tools. Her diverse role has encompassed managing clients' portfolios and designing and facilitating comprehensive training programs. Currently, she's a products and marketing director and serves as a member of the Worldwide Information Services Board of Directors, a premier provider of library and research information solution in South Africa. Her deep understanding of research, coupled with her business acumen and leadership skills, has been instrumental in driving innovation and excellence within the organization. Zanele, the stage is yours. Can you please, thank you.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Realocha. Di Macheroni. So I'm gonna just switch laptops while I'm greeting you. I've got how many languages have I greeted you in now? 4, right? 4. Goeiemôre almal. Abusheni. Molweni. Sanbonani. Mudibwanji. Bonjour. Good morning, everybody. So I'm just going to switch laptops, and so those who are technologically advanced, may you please come and assist. So because it's hybrid, I also need to join the call on Teams, right?
Oh, no. We'll broadcast it for you.
Okay. So I had opened the Teams. Should I close it?
Yeah, please, in case of feedback.
It's gonna, yeah, that's what I was worried about. Okay, cool. All right.
Presenter mode.
So, but I'm good to go. Okay. All right. Can everybody see my screen all right? Yes. Okay. So first of all, from Worldwide Information Services, we'd like to extend our gratitude and appreciation for this invitation. We know that you could have invited any of your service providers, but just considering us, we are humbly appreciative for giving us this opportunity. And would like to also thank you for your support and continued collaboration, and we really want to continue to assist UNISA achieve its research strategic goals in every form. Specifically the library. The library is a very key stakeholder and partner with us, and I'd like to say hello to the entire library management, the entire research management, and all the colleagues that we interact with at different phases and with regards to different topics. So my name is Anele, as they've said. So I'm with WWIS, Worldwide Information Services. So our company essentially provides resources, multiple resources to the library, recently also to the ITC, as well as to the research department. So today I will be wearing the Clarivate hat, which is one of our service providers, which basically facilitates databases and some of the research tools which are very key in research evaluation, discovery, as well as research analysis. So thank you so much. So my topic is mostly going to focus on 2 databases. I'm going to focus on the Web of Science, as well as one of the databases which is called Insights. So for the researchers and other research colleagues, these databases are available through the library. So we really, really encourage that when you start your research journey, before you go to Google Scholar, don't go to Google Scholar actually. And I know there are those that are looking at me with an eye like, I were roaring. Meaning, why are you saying that? So the library really invests a lot of time and resources to make sure that you get access to premium curated resources that are peer reviewed for your context. So please familiarize yourself with the URLs which are available from your library and utilize those resources. So the 2 resources that I'm going to talk about, in fact, everything that I'm going to share is already available for all UNISA students, academics, and all the stakeholders within the entity. Right, so we also have another resource which is called the WIS Academy. So this is our academy. This is where you could find training videos, you can find free webinars that are available if you want to learn how to utilize any of the databases. You can also find marketing resources as well as capacity development workshops. So please visit the website. Most of the webinars that we've got are actually free webinars. So visit the website to see what we're doing. There's a lot of resources that you could utilize there, and please familiarize yourself with that. So I'm also going to touch on the accredited list. So I'm essentially going to talk about the researcher journey and just showcase some of the tools. I will talk a little bit on transformative agreements, and throughout the week, probably this was one of the topics that was touched on. I'll also touch on the Web of Science as well as insights, as I have alluded before in my introduction. Right, so let's start with the accredited list. Right, so Clarivate owns 2 of the accredited lists by DHEAD. So the previous one was owned by ProQuest, it's called the IBSS, but ProQuest has been acquired by Clarivate. So essentially, Web of Science, which is the ISI list, as well as the IBSS list, are now owned by one company. So what am I referring to? And I'm sorry, I will utilize this example from UKZN because I just like how they presented the accredited lists. So your journey before you publish a journal, you would obviously look at the accredited list because you want to publish in a journal that will be recognized within the South African context. The accredited lists have changed throughout the years, and currently these are the 6 accredited lists. 7. I see we added Director of Open Access. So the Clarivate, which is the resources that I'm representing today, are already accredited. So Clarivate represents the ISI list as well as the IBSS list. So 2 of these databases already are covered. Now, some of these databases are already, or journals are indexed in ISI as well. So in ISI, in IBSS, we've got journals that are indexed in the Directory of Open Access Journals. We also have the SciILO list and the Norwegian list. Right, so essentially, what am I saying? When you want to start your publication journey, start with understanding which journals are accredited, which database, if I had to choose a database, or which list, if I had to choose a list, which one do I consult first? And I would consult the ISI list for obvious reasons. I am being objective, by the way. All right. So that is the journey. And the second thing I would do if I were a researcher, and I'm quite honored today, I'm surrounded by doctors and it's really great to be around here. So the second thing I would do is to consult what we call the master journal list. And I'm going to talk about that, right? But the third thing I would do, which is what I'm going to start with the third thing, and then I'll come back to the second one. The third thing is to identify what are the transformative agreements which are applicable within my institution. And by transformative, we basically mean, in the context of South Africa, and I'm not going to go on with the jargon, with the library jargon. So within the context of South Africa, we've got an organization which is called SANLIC. And SANLIC provides agreements with publishers, essentially. So these are the publishers which, when you publish with them, the article processing charges are either entirely waived or there's a massive discount, because the library has got what we call a read and publish deal on the table. Right, so I'm not going to go deeper and elaborate on what transformative agreements look like and the difference of transformative agreements. So what am I saying? Step 1, identify, obviously, the DHEAD accredited list. Step 2, identify which journals do we have transformative agreements so that I could benefit from not having to pay article processing charges. And this is where the library negotiates very, very robust deals so that the academic institution at large, we want to save everyone money. That is what the library is here for. We want to save researchers money. So instead of spending that money on your grant, research grant, in publishing charges, please consult and make sure that you are aware of which deals are available for you within your context, within your subject matter. It's actually a very long list. I've just given you a simple list just based on some of the service providers. So the journal list is actually longer, and it is available from Clarivate. Right. So the third thing I would do is go to a link which is also available already from Clarivate, which is called the manuscript matcher. So I already have my manuscript. I know the accredited list by DHET. I know the transformative agreements in place. Now I want to identify a journal I could publish in. So what I will do is I will go to the Clarivate resources, and I will go to what is called the master journal list and click on the manuscript matcher. So I click on the manuscript matcher, and then I type in my potential article title. So I take my potential article title, I paste it onto the tool, and then I take my abstract. So I'm just going to take a small text from this article. And then from there, I click Find Journals, and the system will actually recommend open access journals. It will recommend journals across multiple publications which are applicable to my title as well as my abstract. Right? So this is what we talk about when we're talking about artificial intelligence and AI and all the fancy words that are going around. So you don't have to spend all that time trying to find journals and looking around to see which ones would be more relevant for your industry. There is a tool that is freely available that you can utilize, which can at least assist you to identify journals that you could publish in. So notice here, I'll get all the metadata of that particular journal. I'll also be able to see things like H-index of that journal, because what I want to do is I want to publish my article in a journal that will potentially expose it to like-minded people so that I get cited, right? I'm looking for that citation footprint. I want to make sure I'm cited as much as possible. So that is what I will do, part of the researcher journey. Right, moving on. The next thing that I want to talk about is just basically the source data from Clarivate. Now, Clarivate, the university subscribes to the entire content that you are seeing here. So this is, again, curated data. Curated, peer-reviewed, high-quality data. So you will start your research discovery journey or your literature review journey with a database like the Web of Science. So the Web of Science consists of multiple subject areas, focusing on open access, journals. So there's quite a lot that you could already benefit from this. But what I want to draw your attention to, just in the short time that I have, is what is called the research discovery journey, specifically to save you time in trying to identify literature that you could use in your own research. So what is called here, this is what is called the enriched cited reference. So the practical example would be, I go to the Web of Science, I type in my search string or my topic. In my example, I use nanoparticles. Then I get results. Right? So out of those results, there's a filter which is called enrich cited references. Now on that filter, it will give me multiple levels of citations of those results so that I can identify which citations I want to use either in my background, in my support, in my discussions, or whether I even want to differ with the synopsis presented or with the ideas presented in this database. So I click on Enrich Cited References. And the enriched cited references will then take me to journals which are citing the background only, if I'm interested in that, or discussion points meeting my search criteria. Then when I click on a record, it will actually take me to the in-text mention in that particular document. So if I'm looking, for example, I've got an author who is my favorite author, and I actually want to cite some of their work in my background, I don't need to scrape around looking for that in-text mention. I just go into the Web of Science, I type in the article or the author of my choice, all the results will come up, then I'll look for enriched cited references, and I'll see the in-text mention in the background. When I click on that example in my screen, it will actually take me to the article and highlight the in-text mention. Talk about magic. You should actually see this live. So this really saves you time, a lot of time in your literature review. Obviously, you will still use your sophisticated tools. You will still use your Covidence, all those different. You will still use your EndNote for reference management purposes. But this really helps you in literature review. Right, so again, we can have training sessions on this, and we liaise quite a lot with the library, so please feel free, library, to reach out to us in delving into some of the practical skills in these tools. The other thing that is quite important in the African context is what is called author visibility. How do we make our authors more visible? How do we make even the impact of the research which our authors are involved in more visible? For collaboration, for funding, for strategy development, for identifying centers of excellence within the institution. And Clarivate has got a tool which is called author profiles. It was previously called Publons, and I know the librarians are nodding because they know Publons. So now Publons has been integrated into the Web of Science. So how that looks like, let's just go into a practical example, but I just want to share some data or some facts with you. So what Publons does, or rather what the Web of Science does, is we no longer just need the researcher to update their record. We actually have AI tools that are built using ORCID ID, any author identifier methodology, to consolidate the author publications. So when we look at when you are doing your NRF rating, or you are looking for your NRF publications, the Web of Science has already harvested all the documents that are affiliated with your name using ORCID ID, researcher ID, and your name and surname, regardless of how you've been indexed by that particular journal that you published in. So the Web of Science has done quite a lot of work in trying to consolidate and what is called author ambiguation. So with disambiguation, we're trying to make sure that we don't miss anything. Sometimes we might miss it, just let us know and we will get it for you. So I'm just gonna give an example, or just showcase an example what an author profile looks like, and I will do this live. So I've got an author that has given me authority to use her profile. So she has already uploaded her picture, and this is searchable even if you don't have the Web of Science. So if other researchers globally are looking for collaborators, they can identify this particular author. They can actually search for you within your field. So what she's done, she's basically gone into the author profile, and this is what we are seeing here in terms of number of publications. These are the number of publications which are highlighted by the Web of Science, which are harvested by the Web of Science, and then she has just gone and approved that these are indeed publications that are affiliated with her name. But the next step which she has done, and I really want to encourage authors to do this, please load your peer review work. So research is not only about publishing, right? It's about contributing to the science of your field. And that might look different. And in some of...
Sorry. Can you close the presenter mode so they can see the screen?
Okay. So, here.
Yeah, can you close that? Maybe you'll come back to just close the presenter mode.
Oh, so they're not able to see when I go live?
Yes.
Okay. Is that all right?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Let's close that. We good? Yeah? Okay, great. Thanks. So, where do I start? Apologies for those who were online, who were not able to see my screen. So I had just clicked on a link where I'm showcasing an author profile. So by author disambiguation, notice right at the top, we've got the various names in which the different journals have indexed her name. So this is the part that is done by AI. So regardless of whether the journal has indexed you as just your surname or your different initials only, we will actually harvest your record. So this is the documents which is co-authored, she's authored, etc. But what I wanted to emphasize was the peer review work. So at a glance, we'll be able to see how many journals she peer reviews for, if she belongs to any editorial board, or she's got any board memberships or even council memberships. We will also highlight that for you. And this is also utilized. We've actually engaged with researchers and at different institutions. This is also utilized by researchers for talent acquisition. So it almost serves like a CV, right? I've just been told that I've got a few minutes remaining, so I'm going to just share a couple of reports in that few minutes. Okay, so that is called author profiles. So I'm going to share, my next slide is going to be based on, and I'm going to ask IT, please help me out again, because I want to go back to the presentation and just showcase with the 5 minutes remaining.
This one.
Yeah, from there. We're good? Okay. All right, so that is the Web of Science and that is researcher profile. The next thing I'm going to talk about is insights, which is research evaluation and analysis. I'm going to share reports on the research output in UNISA, collaborations, journal utilization, as well as sustainable development goals output related to UNISA. Now, in terms of number of documents which are published and indexed in the Web of Science affiliated with UNISA authors, this is the output, and this is just the range from 2019 to 2023. You can see that there is quite a lot of research output. You do spend quite a lot of time and resources in that output. So we're looking at about, this is the number of documents, and this is the related year. So let's look at the impact of the document. So this is the number of documents. The impact of these documents is above just, we're looking at just below, some of them are coming at above average and some of them are coming at below average. So the average impact factor is evaluated, anything above 1 is perceived to be above average. So we can see that the red line represents the global impact rate. So globally, that's where we are, and you can see some of the impact rate that we have achieved in the years. In terms of the global subject areas which we publish in, these are the subject areas we publish in. We publish quite a bit in social sciences and engineering, etc., as you can see. And identifying institutions, and some of the colleagues mentioned, the presenter before me mentioned collaboration within universities. And you can see that within the research space, there is quite a number of collaboration. You do collaborate quite a lot with local institutions. So this is based on the number of Web of Science papers that are produced as a result of some of these collaborations. So you can see that you collaborate with vets quite a bit, you collaborate with Oxford University, you collaborate with University of Pretoria as well. And this is just based on the 5-year period that, or the date range that I'm sharing with you. Now, in terms of identifying, so we do see the collaborations, but which countries do we collaborate with on which subject areas? And you can see we've got the subject areas, and you can see you collaborate quite a bit locally. You collaborate, the next country you collaborate with the most is South Africa, United Kingdom, and as you can see on my screen as well. So this will showcase where are the partnerships coming from. And in certain cases, we can also delve into where is the most funding coming from, and we'll be able to analyze that. Now, in terms of the journal utilization, so which journals are University of South Africa authors outperforming the average citation rate? Essentially, where are we cited the most? And these are the journals which you are cited the most in. Right, so this is where you receive quite a high citation rate. This can be translated also to identify as an author. I obviously want to publish in journals where I'm cited the most. And lastly, which SDGs, which SDG are we driving the most? Right, so we can see that we do quite a lot of work in good health and well-being. That is the highest top 5 SDG. And then we do a lot of work in clean water, sanitation, climate action, etc. So these are some of the reports that we can be able to pull through. We can pull through research reports, research evaluation, funding, etc. But for today, I just really wanted to just share a few slides and give you a flavor of what the library is able to assist you in. And thank you so much for the invitation. We hope that you will enjoy the conference further. Thanks.
Colleagues, you would notice that the next speaker is Miss, is it Denishi Moodley, and the presentation is going to be online. While we're waiting for our IT people to connect her, we hope that she has a good, oh, is she there? Oh, lovely, lovely. You know, from this point where I'm standing, I can't see anything that side. So, anyway, let me not waste her time. Is it a her or a he? Sorry, I can't see. A she. Thank you very much. Ms. Moodley is a customer success manager at Elsevier South Africa and specializes in enhancing brand equity in Africa. With an 11-year experience with LexisNexis and Elsevier, Danishri has worked in the legal, scientific, and medical publishing landscape, passionate about fostering meaningful connection and enhancing academic experience. She works with universities and research organizations playing a pivotal role in research development and publishing in South Africa. Because she's online, we don't want to waste any of her time. Can you take it away, please? Thank you.
Thank you so much for that very warm welcome and introduction. I've been invited today to speak about SciVal and Funding Institutional. I just want to say a special thank you to UNISA Library for including us in this very special event as well. So I'm going to get straight into both of the products, and I understand that there are varied attendees today, some students, some from faculty, and we're going to talk a little bit about both of these products. So we're quite grateful and happy about the relationship that Elsevier shares with UNISA. UNISA utilizes a lot of the Elsevier products such as Science Direct, Scopus, Mendeley. You utilize Researcher Academy, engineering products, Funding Institutional, SciVal, many products. And these products all are there to assist the research cycle at different phases. So Funding Institutional, it's a web-based platform, as well as SciVal and all of our other platforms as well. And the Elsevier products are single sign-on. So if you have an account for Science Direct, Scopus, whichever product it may be, you can sign into any product using the same login credentials. So Funding Institutional and SciVal can be found using your university login. You log into your library page, and you look up these products from the A to Z library database list. Funding Institutional, quite simply, will provide you with funding opportunities. So let's look at a quick demonstration of how you could do this. So this is Funding Institutional, and as you can see, I am signed on, which will enable me the functionality to use the full product version, not any previews of free product versions. So with Funding Institutional, you simply enter in the same search string that you've been using on any other platform to look up literature, and it will find funding opportunities for you. You can also see previously awarded grants as well as funders. So let's say you are looking for funding opportunities in COVID research, You just type it in. It will give you some examples, or you could use your own search string. If you've prepared one and you know how to use a Boolean search string, you can also do that. So once you've searched, it's going to find the available funding opportunities for you. In this case, there are 563 matching opportunities. And then simply you use the filters on the left-hand side to look up the opportunities that are most suitable to you. So for this example, I have funding opportunities, and I can filter it down by my subject area, firstly. The next filter is my funding type. If I want to see results from a specific funder, I can type the name in, or from a specific country, as well as your citizenship. You can look up if it's the grant is applicable to South Africans, for example, and your applicant type, your degree requirements, because as you know, funding opportunities, they vary for undergraduates, masters, and PhD. So you have all of these filters where you can really make the list usable to what you need to see. So let's say we look up for South Africa. There's 122 funding opportunities. I'm sorry, somebody is unmuted, so if you could please go on mute. Okay, so of these opportunities, you can look up. Let's open the first one. And what you can see from this is, okay, let's not use this one as an example. Prefer to use one where, okay, so this is a funding opportunity for notice of special interest, effects of smoking and vaping on the risk and outcome of COVID-19 infection. Okay, so as you go through this, you can see the description of the grant, the deadlines, the actual announcement, as well as similar opportunities. So based on that funding opportunity, there are others here as well. Let's say this one. And then you have the option, okay, so this is the full announcement, but then you've got this option on funding institutional for should I apply, right? So it says in this section, we provide you analytics based on your institution's grants history. Simply select your institution below to access uniquely tailored insights. Your institutional information will be added to your profile and can be edited by the accounts page. So I can go for University of your institution, add the institution. Right, so now that it has added the institution to my profile, we will provide you analytics based on your institution's grants history. So if I go and search for another funding area, I can go for awarded grants. So this will tell me a little bit about how funding has been in this topic over the past few years, or is expected to be. If I go to funders, so it tells me a little bit about the funders for this research area. Okay, so if I go to National Science Foundation, for example, I can learn more about the funder, the areas that they fund the most, opportunities by funding type, the number of grants and the amount that they have awarded, and how many they've awarded per year. I can also see opportunity analytics, and I can go through to the funder website. So funding institutional is pretty simple. You just simply go onto your library AZ list, look up for funding institutional, and sign in with your Elsevier credentials. Once you've set your home institution, you will see that it will become much easier for you to establish whether or not you should apply for certain grants. So it's got hundreds of thousands of funding opportunities on the platform for you, and you can easily find that on Funding Institutional. So we could do another example where I'm going to start from fresh. I'm going to go on to Funding Institutional. And as you can see, there are also some trending research areas on the homepage. You can look for grants by SDGs or curated research areas. So institutional research areas, let's go for Gen AI. There's 592 opportunities. And then I want to see those filters. Going lower down, I'd like to see funding opportunities available for bachelor's and master's. Okay, so it says AI simulation-based training. Right, this is the amount in which subject areas. It's a PhD scholarship. Eligibility is for graduate students. It's also available to domestic students from Australia. So it will tell you immediately whether you should invest more into this or not. Should I apply? Okay, you can't apply for this one because it is specific to Australia, but you can get the gist of it. You can look up for the opportunities that's available for South Africa. And that is Funding Institutional. Now we're going to move on to a quick snapshot, a snapshot of SciVal. So I'm going to click on the home page of SciVal. SciVal has changed a little bit. If you have used the product before, we have updated the look and feel of the platform. But if you haven't used it before, what SciVal does is it inputs information from various databases, including Scopus. So Scopus is Elsevier's a database which indexes abstract and citation information from more than 7,000 different publishers. So it doesn't only index Elsevier content, in other words, it indexes a whole host of publishers' content. And then from that content, we are able to feed it into this platform, which allows us to make some trends, analysis, benchmark, and kind of dig deeper into research topics and research areas. So for a very easy example, we can start by going to the Explore. You get two options, Explore or Compare. And when you get to Explore, you can look up your university or any university profile. Just go to Entities. And you can click on University of South Africa. And immediately you can see some interesting information about the university. You'll be able to see your scholarly output, the authors, and a list of the authors, your field-weighted citation impact as a university, your research output by subject area, as well as the research topics that you work on the most. You can also analyze this or analyze it worldwide or against your institution. So say you're a researcher, you want to see what kind of research that other researchers at UNISA are working on or have produced, and you're trying to evaluate where you can fit in. You could look at these research topics. It will tell you how many documents have been published, what's the impact of those documents, the citability of the documents, and the prominence of that, as well as giving you the opportunity to visualize that topic and benchmark it against your institution. Lower down, you also can see your research output for the university compared to the SDGs. So it takes all your publication output and tells you how UNISA publications have fared in each of the SDGs. So for SDG 1, this is the scholarly output. You can see immediately SDG 3 is where your researchers focus the most. And this is also a very impactful research topic and area for your researchers because it gives you a field-weighted citation impact of 1.46, which is good, higher than the global average. And then other SDGs your researchers focus on would be SDG 4, 9, 10, 11. So you can see that. Also, if you wanted to, for example, compare your university research output by SDG to, for example, what's happening in South Africa, you can just click on this box and you will be able to see that yes, UNISA has a higher field-weighted citation impact in SDG 1, and this is where South Africa is sitting at on average. Also SDG 4, this is where South Africa is. And it will also tell you where South Africa is a little bit higher in terms of field-weighted citation impact against UNISA. You can compare this to other universities as well. Okay, so let's look at some of the topics. So as a researcher, you want to see the topics that are being produced at the university, and you want to be able to analyze that a little bit more. So colonialism, philosophy, you can analyze at the institution. So in this topic area, it tells you your scholarly output is increasing, it declined slightly, and then it picked up again. This is the field-weighted citation impact of this topic and the publication output. There were 46 international collaborations, and the citations collectively were 925. It tells you the top key phrases that authors that have published from UNISA in this topic have used. And it tells you a little bit about your institution's activity in this topic area. So you can explore activity of your institution within this topic area in greater detail, right? And it tells you the subject areas that it focuses on, a word cloud of the most used key phrases, which you can also delve into. Right? So SciVal, like you can see, is just taking it that step further than what you can do on Scopus. Most of the time, if you're familiar with using Scopus, you would have used it to do, for example, a literature review. You would have created your own list of documents. So I'm going to show you quickly how you would bring that into SciVal and how you can analyze that. So in Scopus, I'm going to use any of my saved searches, and I'll show you how you bring it across to SciVal and what you could see from that. So in other words, while this is loading, Scopus will help you to find that literature on a source-neutral database. So you'll be able to see research output from a variety of publishers that is peer-reviewed and considered quality because it has undergone several checks to be available on Scopus. Once you've created that comprehensive literature review list on Scopus, you can export it into SciVal to analyze it, look at the gaps, look at the impact, look at trending keywords, because definitely in this day and age, everything is online, including your article. So you want to make it as impactful as possible. You want to look at what you can do and improve and include on your article to make it more visible, more citable because of indexed keywords and trending topics. Okay, so if this, for example, were the search that you had done on Scopus, you've identified these 121 documents, you can always select export, right, and select SciVal. So what it will now do is take those 121 documents that you found on Scopus, create a publication set for you on SciVal, and then you can analyze those documents in greater detail on SciVal. You'll be able to find, so there's the publication set. Let's save and finish. You'll be able to find for this 124 documents, the top authors, the funders, benchmark these documents against SDG output, look at trending topics, identify gaps in research areas, and find potential collaborators as well. So for those 121 documents, this is what it visually looks like. This is the subject areas they focus on. These are the keywords that were used. And if I go to, for example, collaboration metrics, those documents were made with 75% of international collaborations. I can analyze that topic at my home institution. Okay, so this is not one of your subject areas that you focus on. Let's go for institutions in general. Right, so these are the universities that focus on that example, which is impact of ARVs on adolescents. So you can see UCT, WITS, some of the ones that you can recognize, University of Ghana, that are publishing in this topic. You can see how many documents they've published, the views, the field-weighted citation impact, and you can analyze it deeper by clicking on each of these documents and going further. I'm going to stop here because we've kind of seen a snapshot of what you can do on funding institutional SciVal and exporting from Scopus. But remember that you have supporting resources available for you on the Elsevier Africa Researcher Success Portal, which can train you on how to use these products in depth. As well as monthly, we do have these training sessions. And if you need an invite to them, you can always reach out to your librarian and they will share it with you. So thank you, I'll stop here. Thank you again to the library for including us and allowing me to present today.
Thank you so much, Ms. Danish remotely. May we give her another round of applause?
Thank you so much.
Let me thank both yourself and Ms. Zanele Nomvete for being our valuable partners where it matters most. We appreciate this because you emphasize fostering a meaningful connectivity, the connection, and enhancing academic experience. We appreciate that quite a lot. We would not do it alone. And all the time, even when technology moves, you lead, you push us forcefully, not to be scared. So with you, we dive in. We are not scared. And I hope you will be available after our last speaker now, that you can take questions from the participants. And throughout this week, research integrity was on top of the list of concerns. Increasing research output, publishing in high-impact journals, and packaging the research output for the benefit or the easy access of the society. So all these have been so critical for us. And in fact, why are we doing this? Because we want to see a difference in our nation. We need a well-informed nation. We need to see us closing the gap between the haves and the have-nots. Those who were in the information science seminar yesterday could have heard the emphasis of let's close the gap. We are capable of doing that. So without any waste of time, let me call Mr. Jeff Bonile Nyoka. And Mr. Jeff Nyoka is a professional librarian based in Johannesburg, and he's been working there for over 20 years. So he has worked in academic and public libraries and has worked for eThekwini, Durban Municipality Libraries, and the University of KwaZulu-Natal Libraries. He currently works as a manager of e-learning services in the City of Johannesburg Public Libraries, responsible for researching and implementing new technology-based programs and supporting 87 Johannesburg Library branches through training staff, organizing community events, and finding partnerships. We are talking making a difference in the society. I think we had the right person here. He has been responsible for implementing successful digital literacy programs such as introducing coding, online courses, and mobile literacy in libraries. He has presented on e-learning programs at library conferences and events in Greece, Taiwan, Denmark, Netherlands, and Germany. He has also trained librarians on digital literacy in Uganda and Namibia, and virtually for Brazil Library Services. Through the e-learning programs, City of Johannesburg Libraries won the 2021 Eiffel Public Library Innovation Award, the 2023 BCX Digital Innovation Award, and the Google-sponsored Africa Online Safety Fund for 2023. Johannesburg Libraries have been nominated for the United Nations World Summit on Information Society, WSIS, prize in 2019, and in 2020, they won the United Nations World Summit on Information Society photo contest. That was in 2022. And the London Book Fair International Excellence Award for Library of the Year 2020 for their e-learning programs. I've already said, I'm very convinced we have the right person in here. You know, when we talk about for us, without us, this is what we had when, year before last, when our library was focusing on increasing or making impact in support of assisting our visual disabled clients. And we were doing everything, pushing and pulling. And when they came to our strategic session, they said, you are trying too hard to do things for us without us. And unfortunately, you are hitting at a tangent. So we are happy to be having Mr. Nyoka in here. May you help me welcome him. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
You are welcome.
All right, so where's the...
May you help us to connect again? The laptop is there, but who's helping us to connect? Let him go.
Ja, dit. Must I exit here?
Is it there?
It should be. Yeah, I just want to get on this presentation.
And don't forget the power.
Yeah, I think it's sufficient.
Is it? Okay.
And then you can just, we're still in the meeting. Can I see the presentation there?
Yeah.
Is the presentation on?
Is it on? Yeah, it's on.
Oh, is it on?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I thank you for this opportunity. Am I audible?
Yeah, just please move closer.
Okay. Thank you for this opportunity. It's an honor to be invited by one of our partners. And we work with various tertiary institutions, and UNISA is one of those institutions that's most relevant because you serve communities in different areas who are in remote areas as well. And in City of Joburg, we have semi-rural areas, urban areas, and a very diverse community. And we actually feed institutions like UNISA, and we also work with UNISA students who are already registered. So I just want to also mention that my presentation really is to contribute in to say how do we practically apply and implement this scientific knowledge that is out there, that's already been researched or that we also research. And it's more about the outcomes and the impact of using whatever knowledge is out there. And I also want to mention that as part of this particular topic, it was a pleasure to listen to academics talking about their research output. I want to emphasize that for us, in our work, we feed from different sources of data, not just the conventional Western research methods. So in other words, we rely on the research output from the academic sector, but we also have our own ways of collecting data to make sure that we have a very broad spectrum of knowledge that we will use to implement programs. Okay, so I will be talking about our digital transformation journey. So our e-learning office started in 2016, but before then, we already had computers and Wi-Fi implemented in offices, in libraries. So in the first 5 years of our library e-learning services, we had to answer a question of what resources do we have, what technology do we have, who are we supposed to serve with these technologies, and what are their needs? So that was our starting point in this digital transformation. So just briefly, in terms of our library services, the objectives are to respond to the smart city vision, where the city intends to see citizens being smart and using technologies productively to change their lives or to access services. So for us, it's about how do we contribute to youth employment, to increase employability, and to support SMMEs, to bridge the digital divide, which speaks to bridging the gap between science and society, and also to enable citizens to gain access to the knowledge economy, but most importantly, the digital economy, where most transactions are conducted through technology. So the concept of hybrid services come into play, where we are saying traditionally we've had your books, your printed material, and people walking into libraries. Dr. Mosaka spoke a lot about e-books and those kind of things. So for us, the vision as part of digital transformation is to offer hybrid services where you still have, you're not getting rid, as my colleague mentioned, that there are still thousands of printed books. Even with us, we still buy printed books. So we're not getting rid of the printed books, because in our context, we have a community that is still behind. We have children that still need printed books. So we balance the two. So our hybrid services are to say, we can introduce Wi-Fi, we can introduce e-books, we can introduce online courses, but we can still maintain the traditional services. So it's a case of balancing these things. And that's why we support this by providing free Wi-Fi, digital literacy programs, and access to ICTs. I will get into that. So now, in the last 5 years, as I've mentioned, the first 5 years from 2016 to 2020, we were just focused on using the technologies and finding innovative programs that we can introduce. So we were looking at, we were doing our own research in terms of, can we introduce coding? What is coding? I didn't even know what coding is. So we had to look at, is it relevant? Who will need to know about coding? And that's where we saw that, okay, the government is introducing that subject, and other areas that we tapped into in terms of programs implementation. But in 2020, the concept of digital transformation was sort of propelled in different industries because of COVID. Within the city, different departments were mandated to come up with the digital transformation strategy. So as libraries, we also had to come up with our own digital transformation strategy, even though we had already started transforming. So we looked at different literatures and we found that this concept of digital transformation is fairly new, but you find it mostly on business literature because businesses are the ones who are focusing on profits, and they had to transform to make sure that they don't lose customers because of this new world of people working from home and people being able to access technology. So what we did, we looked at those business definitions and we contextualized those into our LIS sector, and we are saying digital transformation is to say, how can we introduce can we integrate digital technologies in all areas of our work, but is it going to bring change? Is it going to bring value for our communities, which speaks to, again, to bridging that gap? And is it increasing efficiency and productivity? So for us, whenever we introduce things as part of digital transformation, it must speak to this particular statement. Like Dr. Masaka was mentioning about the robot. So when we visited Taiwan, we spoke to some of the library users there, and they have a robot moving around, but the users said they don't like it, they don't use it. You know, and they still want to use the traditional way of going to the counter and speaking to the librarian. Now that informs us, it's part of our research now to say, we don't need the robot. So that's part of transforming. You're not necessarily buying technology for every part, but you have to research and question whether this technology is appropriate for this area of your work. Is it going to bring value? So for us, we had to really look at that to say, for example, not all libraries will have laptops. Some libraries might have tablets, some libraries might have laptops. And libraries have different identities. So that's part of our research in terms of digital transformation. The second part that I thought is important, and I've also shared this in other platforms, is that we exist in a global village. So as Dr. Mosaka was also mentioned, in terms of collaborations and working with different entities, we believe that we can't just exist as City of Joburg libraries. We need to understand how the international community is handling the whole transformation of libraries. So this public library manifesto is from IFLA. It was from their draft, and we looked at certain areas that we highlighted to see if they align with our digital transformation strategy. So I'll just quickly go through them. They look at public libraries as centers of information, making information available. So in our strategy, we are saying, how can we encourage smart citizenry? You know, because public libraries are existing in the digital world. So how can we encourage our communities to interact with technology so that people can, so that the public libraries can still be centers of information. The second one is universal access. So for us, it's important to educate the public in terms of the options that technology offers them, whether they need to know they can order Uber on Uber Eats, they need to know that they can do online courses. These are options that our communities are not aware of. The last one is production of knowledge. Now, this is something that we're very big on currently. Content creation, we all know things like TikTok is actually generating income for our young people. So as public libraries, we're saying, how can we support content creation? I mean, when we won that innovation award, it was about the videos that we created for Facebook, and that was our staff members. But we even opened it up to the public to say you can create videos. We even ran a competition about videos. So that's how we support content creation. Lastly, improving quality of life. The entire digital transformation strategy is about changing lives. Whatever technologies that we integrate must change lives. Okay, so this is something that, again, I always share is awareness of our surroundings. We can't transform libraries if we are not aware of our surroundings, and that's where the research comes in, and that's where I was saying our research is not just academic output to say, okay, what paper says what about certain challenges. No, it's the reality of our people in different areas. So we look at unemployment, it affects most areas, poverty, education inequality, and this speaks to our relationship with institutions as well. For example, when we introduced online courses, it was part of the SDG on quality education. We were saying, how do we support young people who can't go to university or who cannot go to UNISA or who maybe they don't have good marks or they're not even interested, but they still deserve quality education. So for us, it was to say, maybe let's look at the online courses that are of high quality that people can access. And also as public libraries, we focus on things that are for free. We like to push that our communities must get things that are free. So online courses are a big deal because of that, and we've had a lot of success there. And technology, again, it's a challenge. Some communities do not have access to technology. You find that some communities have smartphones, but there's no infrastructure in the area for the connectivity to work. In some areas, there's they still fiber cables. So those are South African challenges in different areas, and we have to be conscious of that as we transform. And the other one is obvious, corruption and the energy crisis. With the energy crisis, we try to find ways of navigating that space where we say we can still do things offline if there's load shedding. So that's what we're training our staff to say, don't stop doing a program just because there's load shedding. There are people who go to the library because there's no lights at home and they must find something. There are so many options that we explore. And then there's immigration, where we look at how we can support immigrants who are within the space, within the law, so that they are not isolated. So those are some of the challenges that we address. Okay, now, in trying to bridge this gap, we look at different literacies that we support as libraries, and we also encourage even other libraries as well. Okay, we all know basic literacy is part and parcel of our library services and information literacy. But since 2020, because of this push for digital transformation, we've now emphasized and focused on digital literacy. We are saying, how do we help communities learn to interact with technology? How do we solve that monster to say they must not see, we must reduce the fear of technology. So that's what we are embarking on. Since 2020, most of our programs have focused on digital literacy, various digital skills, basic digital skills, intermediate digital skills, and also finding institutions that can expose young people to advanced digital skills. So digital literacy has been a huge part of our work. And then I won't get into this, but really it's how, in an attempt to bridge the digital gap, what we do and what I encourage staff is to understand user frustrations, to put their selves into the shoes of a member of the community, to say there's a person who knows how to use a computer, but they don't know what to find online or how to use e-resources that you were demonstrating. There's a person who doesn't know how to use a computer, but they also don't know how to find, like we've had those experiences with UNISA first-year students who've never seen a computer before. They don't know how to navigate online sources. They really don't know anything. So as a librarian, you need to understand that there's a variety of library users that come into your space, and you have to understand their frustrations. Okay, so these are, as I've mentioned earlier, since 2020, these have been our core focus areas. Digital literacy. This is where we want to empower our communities with digital skills so that they can use technology productively. Coding activities. Now, this has been an exciting but also challenging program that we introduced in 2018. Basically, what we want to see is communities understanding how technology is created and not just be users of technology. They need to know if they use Facebook, how is that app created? They don't have to go into computer science, but they need to also have a clue. We just recently hosted semi-finals with primary schools yesterday, and the fascination from teachers was that the coding as a subject in some of the schools has not been introduced, but these kids are already connected to the subject through library services. So we will be holding the finals in August as part of the Mandela tournament, where we host schools from different provinces, and we are part of a big competition with other provinces. But coding itself is such a big deal to us because it really speaks to how do you introduce computer science from young children. I didn't know what coding is, but at this point, I would say it's one of our most successful programs, which means that's how we are connecting the society with technology, and we are bridging that gap. Reading with technology, again, this is a program that's big in our plans because we support schools. Teachers have often told us that they don't have reading material. So what we do, we show them how to use technology to find reading material. So that's also a big program for us. I will not play this particular video so that I will save time. Okay, this is just a demonstration of some of the coding activities that we've done. We do Hour of Code activities. That photo you see there, it's children playing a coding game. That's the one that we had competitions yesterday. It has gone international. It's a South African game. It's been translated in other countries for their children to play that game. And we also do coding for adults. We work with different organizations like Microsoft and Google to introduce coding skills through our website. Okay, those are some of the photos of the kids playing, doing Minecraft coding. And again, this is how we are connecting our communities with technology. And then here we have a concept of mobile classrooms where we take gadgets to different spaces as part of sharing resources because we do not have enough technologies in libraries to cover all communities. So sometimes we move things around to implement programs. Okay, so as I said earlier, the reading with technology concept is a big deal to us. This is one of our really successful programs. It's called Mobi Readathon. It's a reading development program that we introduced to communities to read online. This is another highlight where we provide digital literacy to senior citizens, showing them how to use computers. And then, okay, so now in terms of our digital transformation, I just want to share that these are the focus areas. We want to improve user performance. We want to say, if a person goes to a public library, is it going to change their experience and improve their lives? We also want to focus on staff skills. We've got staff members who are doing innovation courses, and we're also introducing them to online courses because they are also part of the society that we're talking about. We also want to look at how do we use data to improve services and how do we improve our own competitive advantage because we're competing with things like YouTube, TikTok, and things like that. And then I've also mentioned staff, how do we improve staff skills? And then the spaces as well. How do we transform our library spaces to be more accommodating to people with different needs using technology? Transforming our services to be interactive as well. We are introducing a new library system. We have a website that really makes, that attracts over 5,000 visits every month. And that website has got online courses. People are registering for those online courses. We run competitions on that website. So that's an interactive service as part of our transformation. The library collections, as I was mentioning, the e-books, we look forward to having Afrocentric collections as well as international collections. Okay, so lastly, these are some of the proposals from the UNESCO Communication and Information sector to say, how do we bridge, it's part of bridging the gap between technology and societies, improving connectivity. Some of the suggestions is to say, making sure that we promote internet usage and making internet a necessity, supporting schools that are not connected. Lastly, accessing digital skills, and that's what we've been doing as a City of Joburg, to make sure that communities do have these digital skills so that they can also transform with the libraries. So thank you so much. That's all I have to share today.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nyoka. I think if it was not of time, we were going to hear so much more. But we heard it from the horse's mouth. Not a horse, but from the horse's mouth. We are challenging all of us together with our colleagues who are connected virtually to say, we are saying libraries bridging the gap between science and society. So we have heard part of what our society is doing and what they are expecting. So this was an interesting and thought-provoking presentation. And hearing that this hybrid service is still going to be around for some time, and I was taken back to say, in fact, we are still grappling with the culture of reading in our communities. So as we are building that informed nation, we still have to continue encouraging people to read. So, and I liked what you showed, how COVID-19 was bringing an opportunity for us, bringing us fast to embrace technology, not to fear it, and to ensure that we apply. So we are going to have a very fruitful conversation, and as we continue now, let me open this time for questions and answers on all the papers that were presented. I think I've already received indication that there is nothing on our chat box. Am I right? So it is back to us, colleagues. We have been engaging since this morning. Now we are just nearing afternoon. Yes, just 1 minute past 12. So I can say good afternoon. Let's engage with the papers that were presented. You are welcome even to engage with the welcome. You heard how Prof. Mwepe was challenging us already, so you are welcome to ask him also. So my colleague here and I will be taking this session to attend to you when you have a question or a comment. The floor is open for us. You see, we were also reminded that we are so fast moving to 2030. You know, when we were looking at the SDGs when they were launched, and we thought we have time. Now we are getting into the last phase. Are we getting our house in order? Are we ready? Are we succeeding? I remember the other time listening to Dr. Butle Mbambo-Data saying, when I open my eyes on the 1st of January 2030, I wonder where we will be doing, what we would have achieved. So more and more when we hear our network, our partners putting collaboration up there, we are really seeing the importance. Let's talk. Let's ask. All our people are still here. Raise your hand. Let's hear. Let's talk to them. And Prof, I don't know, the VC opened this Research and Innovation Week here. I don't know if the powers were given to us that at the end of this, we are officially closing the Research and Innovation Week. I don't know. Because the person who's going to come here our Dr. Marumo, who will be giving a vote of thanks and closing. I wonder if she was given the powers to officially close the Research and Innovation Week. I hope so. I don't know. Prof and Dr. Marumo will talk who is officially closing, because we are the last one on this special Research and Innovation Week. My colleague was showing me, was there somebody who wants to speak? I didn't see. Yes, the floor is open for you.
Yes,
good morning. Do we have is your mic on? It's not working?
Yes.
The challenge is that when she speaks, our colleagues virtually won't even hear if the mic is not connected. Do we have a roving mic to us?
Another row, please.
Okay, he's asking you to go to another row where it is working. That row, yes. Yes.
Yes, in front of you.
Thank you. I think you've got a spot now. You can talk to us.
Yes, good morning, everyone. And
Morning.
I like the topic on bridging the gap between science. Yes. Yes, can I continue?
Yes, you are welcome. I hope they can hear you.
I like the topic on bridging the gap between science and society. And then I do have a question, but I think my question goes to Dr. And I like what she was talking about. And then my question is, how well are we positioned in supporting citizen science, looking at a citizen with special needs? And looking also at the collaboration that she was talking about with these communities in bridging the gap. Thank you.
Let me take two more before I usher them to respond. The other question? Okay. All right. Yes, her speaker is working, yes?
Thank you, Chair. I was put in touch with people who are starting small satellite community libraries. So I would be so excited for their sake to link them up with the Johannesburg Library, and even UNISA Press. We're trying to make partnerships because the idea is there are initiatives going on the ground, informal, small, sometimes struggling with quality, but there's a small publisher in Johannesburg called Porcupine Press. They picked it up, and these people are community-based across the country, making up their own little libraries and their own little publishers. So it looks like there's so much potential, and it's great to see people acting like creators, not just users of technology.
Thank you so much. To that comment, we should also not wait for us to tick the box. If it's not in the box, we don't do. So I was also challenged to say I can walk to my public library and offer to assist, as you was raising other concerns that people are having smartphones. At times they don't even know how to use it. So to volunteer my 2 hours on Saturday morning and have that. So there are so many things that we can do. Not challenging us in the room, even our colleagues who are here virtually. You find that you are sitting there, you are a librarian, you don't even know your public library. It has nothing to do with you. As long as you are not going to tick the box that you've done it, do it because it's the right thing to do. because it will change somebody's life. Thank you so much for the comment. Any other question before I give to Dr. Ramutla? Yes. Is that the online one?
Yes.
Yes.
There's a question online, and I'll share the comments after. The question is from Gabriel Mashabela, and he says, can UNISA roll out a massive program to upskill public librarians in usage of technology to render library services?
Yes, I will leave that one to Prof and Dr. Ledwaba to respond to, because I was very interested in hearing we want those short courses, but we want them free. So I was saying, ooh, I wonder what comes free these days. But anyway, I will leave the two, Prof and Dr. Ledwaba, to answer that one. But we are taking the last one before I open for responses. Yes?
Thank you very much, Memolo. My English was already running away from me because I had few papers that I had with me. But I wanted to talk to Dr. Ramutla regarding the confusion regarding research, data management, and citizens' science. Hey, but I think you'll be able to maybe clarify a bit in terms of the confusion that we engage, especially some of us who want to be researchers within a certain space. But one other thing that I wanted to touch, I don't know if maybe I can just, it's just a few of them. I also wanted to check with Mayor Nomvet. It was regarding the transformative agreement. I think there's something where you mentioned about the discounted deals. I don't know, I want you to be able to clarify for us. At some point they can waive what is it publishers, but you'll be able to clarify the transformative agreement so that maybe some of us can be able to know where to go within the system so that we can be able to understand that. And lastly, as part of Gauteng Regional Libraries in Tatenyoka, when we do go visit the libraries that we have, we do see your, what we call it, senior citizen digital literacy programs. But I want to understand what does it involve. Do they type only, or there are other programs that we make sure that we can be able to equip them so that they can be computer literate and be able to do other responsibilities within the communities they stay in? And also in terms of the budget of your e-learning, because we have realized that as much as you just indicated to us that you try to balance between the e and the what we talk about the traditional library time of a platform. How does it work in terms of your budget allocation, in terms of the e-book, so that as myself as a librarian within Gauteng, I can be able to connect and be able to say to them, can you be able to link to this particular book online so that we can be able to engage further regarding that? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. In that order, I'm going to have Dr. Ramutla responding, and then to our online query, I'm going to ask Prof and Dr. Ledwaba to respond, and the last one I'm going to ask Mr. Nyoka, and my colleague will be taking over if we have the last round of questions before he ushers Dr. Marumo to close for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Program Director. I thank you to my colleagues. I hope the virtual attendees are able to hear me.
No. You are soft.
And project highlight. The voice is, it's not becoming very. Oh, there we go. There we go. Yeah.
You can always come here if your mic is problematic. I think this is the best.
It seems like it's working now. Okay. Thank you so much. Mamrud, regarding the...
Okay, sorry. Here's the secret. We must not be on the mic more than one person. So if you are on, she is on, you won't get it right. There must always be one person on the mic. So make sure that when she's having her mic on, all yours off. Yes. Dr. Ramutla, yours is on. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Memula. Mamrud, regarding your question on how positioned are we? I would say as academic libraries or academic librarians, we are not far off. Because as I've already stated, that we do have a lot of resources at our disposal, and we are already engaged in research support. So we are honestly not far off. What we need to do, however, is to leave our comfortable space in the libraries and actually go to the communities, to serve the communities exactly where they are. And when I say academic librarians should be involved in citizen science, I'm not saying go and collect data. I'm saying go and take that data and make it available to the wider audience. So in terms of positioning, honestly, we are not far off. We get in there, we just need reskilling and upskilling here and there. And I hope that answers your question, Mayor. If not, please, you may ask a follow-up. But the confusion between research data management and citizen science. Research data management would ordinarily be the actual management of the research data that we will be collecting as academic librarians. And the difference with citizen science is that the citizen science is the actual activity. So it's the science behind the actual collection of data. So the actual activity wherein we say into the communities, go out there and collect data to help us to answer real world problems. So that will be the citizen science that I'm talking about. Whereas the research data management is the actual management of the research data that we would have collected, and which is where librarians are playing a very active part in currently. I wish Mr. Makanda was here to elaborate further on my point, but I hope my response is sufficient. Right? If not, by all means, please follow up. Thank you, colleagues.
Okay, the second question I think was for Prof, ne? Yeah. So I don't know who's gonna respond first. Is it, Prof is answering, thank you.
Thanks, the question was online. We actually have, as the library, we have already identified the gap that the colleague asked online about the short learning program on ICT. So, but it is a bit of a tall order for us to be able to implement. But what we have done after identifying the gap is was to engage our partner libraries, especially municipalities and your correctional services. And after the engagement, we formed a partnership with the Department of Information Science here at UNISA that we had already started with organizing a workshop somewhere in July, wherein our partner libraries will be capacitated on these new technologies, especially the disruptive technologies. So we are experimenting. So going forward next year, we'll be able to see whether there is that need. But this year, we are going to have 2 workshops in that regard, but we only cater for our partner libraries. So that is what we are doing to close that gap. But in the long term, what we get from this exercise will inform the long term. And then that might also be driven from academic side. Thank you.
Your mic is still on, Prof. Thank you. Natalie Dwaba, do you have anything to say?
Am I audible?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Oscar. I think Prof has captured it, and in addition to what he has indicated, let me say to Chotla that it's good to upskill, especially public librarians with technology. But then the challenge remains, you need to upskill people who have that kind of technology. If you upskill them and then they go back to their working environments and they don't use those skills anywhere, then it becomes a challenge. So the appeal is also to say, let's also empower going forward with all the stakeholders involved, including the the government. Empower the public libraries with infrastructure. Let's make sure that they have infrastructure, they have tools that they'll be able to use, especially the technology tools as Chaka is talking about here. Thank you, sir.
Okay, before we read comments from the visual chat box, let's hear a response from, I think there was a question for, yeah, how's Novet?
Hello, can you hear me? Am I audible? Okay, great. So the question was pertaining transformative agreements, APCs and things like that. So I'm just gonna backtrack a little bit. So traditionally, the publication landscape was that the library pays for the subscription. You pay to access the journal. And then on the other hand, the researcher pays to publish with that publisher. So we're getting money coming from two components of the library, the research of the institution. The researcher is paying to publish, and then the library is paying to access. So that is the traditional landscape of how publishing works. So there's been international initiatives like Plan S, and our consortium, which is called SANLIC, which the library is a member of, has negotiated under Plan S, or with the Plan S objectives, that we get what is called the transformative agreements, where the library continues to pay to access, but then the researcher no longer needs to pay to publish. So the article processing charges are either waived or heavily discounted. So each provider or each publisher has got a different agreement on the SANLIC table. Hence, I shared a slide where I showed you the providers that are participating in transformative agreements. So it's not everybody that's on the table. So what that means is that depending on what the agreement which the provider is offering, then you would need to familiarize yourself. So the common one is the read and publish, and that is what SANLIC is a member of. So there are two types of transformative agreement, is the read and publish, as well as the publish and read. They might sound like it's play on words, but contractually they actually mean different things. So the read and publish basically means that the library continues to pay, but then as a country, we are discounted to publish. So the researchers then benefit from the library's relationship with that publisher. So there are those that are on the SANLIC table, which, as I said, the library is part of. And then there are those that are negotiated by the institution. Maybe UNISA Press could be part of different negotiations. So we're not just limited to the negotiations that take place by SANLIC. Entities can negotiate with specific service providers to say, well, look at our output. Our university contributes 45%. I'll just make an example. Or X. Or our university contributes X number of articles, so therefore we would like to negotiate a either discounted subscription or a discounted APC, article processing charges. So that's what transforming means. We're transforming the traditional contract agreements into the Plan S objectives. I hope I've thoroughly explained it. Thanks.
He's showing a thumb up to say that he's well answered. Okay, I think the last one was for Dr. Mosaku. Yeah, no, not the last one. Okay, there's a mic that is on. Thank you. There's one for Dr. Mosaku who asked. No, he's on the 5th floor where we work. I work with him, so I will always, This one is for the City of Johannesburg representative, and of course there are comments. So after your response, there will be comments, and we'll be taking the last round of questions. No follow-ups. If you want to ask more, wait. If you want to ask more questions, we'll be having our lunch there, so you can interact with our speakers and get more from what you want to ask. Thank you.
Okay, so the first question about senior citizens. One, our libraries, they have different identities. So for example, at Linden, it's a predominantly white community, and the delivery of that senior citizens program is not the same as the one in Orange Farm, for example. In Linden, we just do basic computer skills, and we also introduce them to apps for, healthy aging apps, the app that you can use to listen to music and things like that. And we also introduce them to the website for city services. Now, in these other libraries like Orange Farm and Murray Park, it was a different senior citizen program where we introduced them to basic skills, and then we introduced creative writing. So this is where they wrote stories about their lives, and we partnered with City of Johannesburg University, and we published a book. So there's a book with, it's called COJ, Senior Citizens, right? So it's a book with the collection of 20 stories and translated into English with their original languages. So you can see it's a diverse group. It depends on which library you're serving. So that's the first one. We don't know when the next group, what the next group will look like. So the next question is about budget. Currently, we do have a budget that we are using for collection development. We're trying to build the ebooks collection, but we do provide access to Libby through Overdrive. So people who are members can just access those ebooks for free. They just have to be a member. They download the app, or they go straight to our website. Our website is cojelearning.org.za. So that's free. We're hoping to get more ebooks from different sources because, as some of you know, the book buying process had stopped for a few years because of national treasury regulations, but we are back on track now. Lastly, I want to also add in terms of the online courses. With staff, and this is for the benefit of Gabriel and others, with staff, it's not a one-size-fits-all to say if, let's say, UNISA was to come up with a short course. It won't work to say there's this one and that's the one that is being done. But what we encourage, even if UNISA comes up with something, they still can learn different things. So what we encourage them is go on our website. The Microsoft Digital Skills Platform is free, and the courses are amazing. They get free certificates. They can even do the advanced courses where they write exams. But currently there's basic computer skills, there is artificial intelligence, there's data science. So the librarians don't have to only promote this to the public, but themselves, they might, and we've had those who've done it themselves, they must sit and go through these courses and not wait for an institution like UNISA to say they're going to organize a particular specific focus. They don't have to wait for UNISA to organize, because as Professor has mentioned, it's not that simple, and if UNISA does one particular training, what about the other skills? So the nice thing about accessing online courses is that it's self-paced, you do it at your own pace, at your own time, for free, and you pick and choose as you compile different certificates. Thank you.
All right. We're going to take the last round of questions. While Mukhadi is reading comments from the online chat box. Fiji, yourself, the next one. Mesonto, we are not going, no, we are not being recognized, no. Follow-up questions will follow outside, not here. Then the second one. Okay, Maria there, the young Maria, not the other Maria. Yeah. Anyone? Okay, cool. Aus Mukhadi?
Thank you. These are the comments from the online audience. The first one is from Gabriel Mashabela. Indeed, collaboration is a major factor in this era. Wish libraries can have a collaboration collection development, including academic and public libraries. And then the other one, over and above that, many are thank yous and well done and all good presentations. The other one is from Leslie Adrianse. Well done to COJ, City of Johannesburg Library Services, for introducing the app Libby. It allows library patrons to use existing library cards to access and read ebooks across various devices. This is making a huge difference to making library collections accessible to patrons. As a librarian and avid reader, I'm a supporter spreading the word. And that was from Leslie. And Gabrielle Mashavela again says, good to see that even public libraries are driving the digital transformation. This will benefit ordinary citizens to be competitive in this era. From Eric Njabulo Ndunge, says, nice presentation, Jeff. Public libraries are really accelerating lifelong learning, more especially in disadvantaged communities, through various digital platforms. And Leslie came back to say well done to City of Johannesburg Library Services for introducing the app Libby. I think it's the one I've read. Yeah, that's the one I've read. Let me just quickly check. Yeah, those were the few comments from online audience. Thank you.
Okay, one little comment from myself. I think you need to Google this e-granary thing. It might help at the City of Johannesburg immensely. Does it show on the screen? Nothing. E-granary. I'll spell it out for you. It's E, capital letter G, R-A-N-A-R-Y. And I'll read out what it says. What is e-granary? The e-granary digital library, the internet in a box, is a once-off, it's an on-off, hey, you know what, my glasses today, I think I need, sorry, let me move it. It's an offline information store that provides instant access to over 35 million digital resources for those lacking adequate internet connections. So it might also assist somehow. Okay, we are going to start with Aus VG. Okay.
I would like to say well done
That one is not working. That's the one that's not working. Yeah, I was behind you. You can, yeah.
Just there. Okay. I would like to say well done to City of Johannesburg. It's an exciting presentation for public libraries, how to see how they have developed technologically. It's exciting. I know some of them are still left behind, but I think they are getting there. Let's hope they're gonna be same like you. I would like to find out in your journey to responding to a smart city vision, how well do communities adapt to technological changes based on your surveys, and how is the uptake based on your surveys?
Okay, the next one, Maria.
Okay. Good afternoon, colleagues. My question is to Prof. Ngwebe, and I would like to ask on the collection that we have, is there a selection that is chosen to go E as we are going E, or is that we are going E with recommended books and prescribed, or how is it that you use a criteria to choose the certain books that will go E as we have a vast collection? Thank you.
I think she was the last one. I think, yeah, I think Maria.
Oh, okay. I thought we were asking the people who are in the panel.
He can always defer to Ms. Nkosi, yeah.
No, thank you very much for the question. I think the selection of the e-books, the question that you're asking, I would say about 8 to 90%, because we're an academic institution, we focus on what the university is offering. We do not want to be misaligned to the strategy of the university. And we focus also in the area of the niche areas of the university. So we focus on the PQM, we focus on the niche areas, but that does not stop us to actually develop the collection that is focusing on the researchers' individual needs, because there are special researchers that would have a very unique research that's not yet identified by the university. So we are quite vast, but primarily we exist for students and researchers and the academic program that we're running. Thank you. I hope I've answered you.
Okay, cool. And for those who want to ask more questions on that Elsevier and the other one, we are so fortunate in the library to have Medores Neyman. I am definitely sure she will answer you with passion when talking about these things. Having said so, let me also call on this podium Dr. Marumo, who has something for us. Oh, you know, let me tell you something. The problem with me, you put me in front. I'm like Dr. Mosako. I connect somehow to people's things. So yeah, but I'm not quite. So you can answer, please.
Okay, thank you so much for the compliment, and also thank you for the challenge, because that question is actually a challenge. When we started, our survey was more focused on the first survey we did was only for staff and their digital skills in the first 5 years, from 2016 to 2020. I'm ashamed to say we have not done a full survey in terms of the responses and the impact from the communities. We tend to focus more on the statistics and when we see the numbers, but the numbers don't tell a story. We do have some good stories through the photos that you see and on social media, but we definitely need to get to a point where we have that well-researched surveys in output to say this is how people feel. Also, in addition to that, I want to just throw this into the room and also to those at home. When it comes to research by library staff who do their masters and their PhDs, there tends to be some topics that are so interesting and so relevant to libraries, but we never get to see the outcome and those recommendations. I'm just asking if you have a research committee, if that research committee profiles the research output and they find something relevant to public libraries, if you can just share with us and say, can you implement this? Mm-hmm. Because I'm speaking for my office, we are very good at implementing, as you see. So we will implement. If we, like I know even in City of Joburg, there are staff members who are researching about e-learning classrooms, but I've never seen the outcome. You know, so for me, it speaks to what Dr. Moseko was saying, that universities mustn't exist there with the research output, and we don't get to see and try out some of these recommendations. But some of that research might be some of them going to communities and asking them about some e-learning program, but we never know how communities felt. So I thank you for that, but I'm also posing that as a challenge to other institutions, not just UNISA as well.
Okay, are you okay? VG? Cool. You know, Mr. Nyoka, what you're saying is very, very correct and relevant. And I can say to you that what Ms. Hamid said, that they've actually written an article about high blood pressure, diabetics, and so forth. And then the outcomes were that lifestyles can sometimes, take you to an early grave. For those who don't know, and I can joke about this because I'm a victim of such carelessness of, well, I mean, not wildlife, but lifestyle. Yeah. On the on the on the 8th of January, when you were coming back, I was admitted at the hospital. The morning of the day, I was taken to a doctor, and when you got there, there was no blood pressure at all. And he was asking me, how is it possible that you are alive? And then we took the sample for, come on guys, yeah, well you can laugh, I'm here, I mean, yeah. So, and then he took blood samples for, to test the sugar. Let me tell you, it was at 18.6. I saw the face, the way he looked at it, like, before he showed it to me. And I thought, okay, I'm in trouble. Then I was taken to the hospital. When I got there, because in my mind I'm thinking, oh, okay, now it's diabetes, and which I don't have. And before we got the results from the lab, I thought I'm diabetic, because now even the nurses say, no, that site is diabetic. I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen? I'm thinking I'm going to lose my limb, I'm going to lose this and that. And then when the doctor came the following day, are you aware that you have a chronic kidney failure? No, relax. And I was shocked, and I said, no, I didn't know. And for those who were in communication with me will tell you, my text to them were very, very scary, because I said, I'm dying. Now, the impact was so high that the kidneys thought they're collapsing. And then I realized much later that actually the infection was so high that it needed to be flushed out. Then the following time they tested, now I'm stage 3, no longer stage 5. Then much later I tested again, nothing. So we really need to take care of ourselves. We definitely need to do. I pray and wish that research that you've done about choices that we make lifestyle-wise is out there, so that the next person might not meet God like I did. Believe me, I saw God there while I was in the hospital. Come on, guys. Why are you laughing? Come on. Yeah, but I did. I did. You're laughing now, but let me tell you something. This is not a laughing matter, because I looked at my son. He's 14 now, and unfortunately his mother passed on last September. I'm staying with him. I'm looking at him, I'm thinking, am I going to leave this little boy by himself? And yeah, I think the same evening is when I had a visit with God, those and my angels. And the following day, the doctor came and said to me, you are a miracle patient. Believe me, that those are the words they use. If you know Dr. Mashiti Show, yeah. Actually, I was not doing it for me to clap, as you're supposed to clap at the end. Anyway, Dr. Marumo, the stage is yours.
Hi, Malu. Colleagues, you mustn't do a vote of thanks to librarians. It's not an easy job where there are bumalumis in it. And Malum, when you were talking, you just reminded me of Mr. Miles Monroe. He said, I think it was just a week before he passed on. He said, don't go to the grave full. Go to the grave being empty. So meaning, whatever you have, share with people. He said the graves are full of knowledge, of researchers. So it shows very well that you are a true librarian. When you were there, you were making research. So from stage 5 to stage 1, oh, that's good. Colleagues, to our program directors, thank you so much. You really, really drive this ship. You were really the captain of the ship. both of you, you know, the way you took us in this journey. We didn't even feel the coldness of this wall. So I would like to thank you so much. You said, Memolawa, you open on a high note. We must close on a high note. I think I will try to do that. You indicated also that there are researchers, like he indicated, that are there that are not used. Colleagues, this is a challenge to all of us. To Prof. Mwepe, thank you so much for all the time making us laugh and for all the time making sure that your mother tongue language is so important. You know, Barry, when you want to touch a person, talk to that person in his or her mother tongue. So if you look into this topic of bridging the gap between the science and society, you cannot touch the society if you don't know their language. So you really showed us that we need to share as a librarian, and as the library is evolving, we need to bridge the gap, and we have a duty to do. You indicated that we need to be ethically, morally correct, and be authentic with what we are sharing. Thank you for that. To Memudir, being our product, colleagues, it's so nice talking to the librarian, and you see them, you know, going from first step to the second step, going through the ladder. Thank you so much. I want to do some analysis. You know, when they say you are a librarian, when people present, you don't just say thank you. I did some comparison. So when I thank the presenters, I'm going to compare what they said, how they approach bridging the gap between the science and society. So, Dr. Mudir, Dr. Musako, Ntate Jeff, I'm going to group you all to try to make a short vote of thanks to all of you on what you have said. And thereafter, I will also align that with our service providers because they are connected in bridging the gap. When Dr. Musako presented, you reminded me of Castell in his book of Network Society. He said, it's not purely technology that defines modern society, but also cultural, economic, and political factors that make up the network society. Dr. Mudir, you said to bridge the gap requires more than relevant research. It requires more detailed plan for implementation, adaptation, requires research that is relevant to local effective predictions. Those you also indicated when you were answering the question. You talked about citizen science. Colleagues, if you forget what she said about the citizen science, just think of that beautiful bit. Think of that key, those lights, and then if you go through, you will understand that. Thank you so much for both of you. You came from the societal factor, Dr. Mudir. Dr. Musako, you approach it from the technological factor. You also talk about the 4th industrial revolution. You took us from the 1st to the 5th industrial revolution. Colleagues, that was an awareness creation for us to say where it came from and up to where we are. We want to thank you for that. Dr. Mudir, on your presentation, you also, the discussion was basically aiming to contribute towards the solution of the national and the global challenges. Like you indicated, the difference between the research data management and the citizen science. Thank you so much. You also reminded me of Dr. Toza Makwebani from VUT, where she indicated that to be a catalyst of positive, you need to impact the space. And he also indicated what we also touched on the shortfall that we face today, that is scientists understand scientists. You also come with the steps of where to improve, like community of practice, marketing, advocacy, skill development. We want to thank you for that presentation. To Mrs. Nomvet and Ms. Moodley, I hope she's still online. Thank you so much for being part of us. You really showed us that you are part of us. You became as an enabler because we came from the science and from the society, and you came to say, if you need information to assist you, we are there to assist us. Thank you so much that you don't only just dig into our pocket. When we call you to come and say, come and let us share the information, we are here to share with us. To Ntate Jeff, thank you so much, showing the digital transformation journey, showing how it's important to us as librarians, how it's important to us, to our society. You brought the community engagement so perfect, whereby we close the gap of the society. And we also engage. I mean, to train somebody who's already on a senior citizen, it shows passion that we must not leave our society still being not illiterate. So for all those who took part in this seminar today, I want to thank all of you. I will also want to thank our audience. You participated so well. You know, you could see that you all listened to what was shared. I will also want to thank those who are on virtually joining us to say, we also want to thank your participation. I was looking at the number, it was around 92 participants. So it could see that really we were interested to see how we bridge the gap between science and society as the library. So the last one, the question and answers. How you answered the question, thank you so much. And those who asked the question, thank you so much. It shows very well that all of you were listening. I would like to ask Ntate Nyoka and Me Nomvete to come and get some smallanyana token of appreciation from us as the library. Thank you so much. This is a token to say it's not a bribe. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming and share your knowledge with us. Thank you so much. Colleagues, we've all said thank you so much for this seminar. As a library, we want to appreciate each and every one of you. And the seminar is closed now. We can meet outside for our networking lunch. You can ask questions, whatever, comment, and enjoy.
Lord, pleasure is good.
If you're a business colleagues, sorry, one last thing. We must move fast because there's an event out next door.